Long before he had a name, a stone split open on a mountaintop. What climbed out did not cry. It did not crawl. It did not wait to be taught how to stand. It looked in all four directions, and light poured from its eyes, bright enough to make heaven tremble. He grew into a king among his own kind, undefeated and feared by beings older than the world. Then, at the height of his power, he wept. Not because of a rival, not because of an attack, because of a single realization even he was going to die. So he left everything behind to hunt for the one thing that could make him immortal. He returned wielding a power heaven had never permitted any mortal to possess. And when heaven unleashed everything it had to bring him down, every army, every weapon it had never before needed to use, he defeated them all. Until a single hand descended, and he was stopped, buried alive for 500 years beneath a mountain shaped like the hand that beat him. At last, he is freed, not out of mercy, but because a monk bound for the western edge of the world needs a protector strong enough to survive the road. But freedom comes with a price he does not see coming. He accepts a golden fillet as a gift only to feel it fuse to his skull, a lie hidden inside it that will control him for the rest of his life. He will stand over a mountain of the dead, killed by his own hand, consumed by a grief that looks nothing like the fury for which he is known. Near the end of the road, he meets a creature with his exact face. When no one can tell which of them is real, the punishment falls on them both. At the very end, a hand rises to check for the thing that bound him. It is already gone. If you find this kind of patient, immersive exploration meaningful, liking the episode and subscribing helps make the next story possible. Sharing it with one person who thinks this way is the most powerful thing you can do. This is Human Lore, the podcast where we explore the stories, beliefs, and legends that shaped our world. And you're listening to the story of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. Prologue. 5 treasures for no one. 500 years before anyone will walk toward it, the Buddha convenes his court on Spirit Mountain. He looks out over 4 continents and ranks them by the conduct of the people who live there. 3 continents please him well enough. The 4th, the human world to the east, does not. He calls its people lecherous, careless with each other, prone to evil almost by habit. This is his judgment, delivered from the highest seat in existence, and no one in the hall disputes it. He has an answer ready. Scriptures exist, thousands of scrolls, capable of correcting exactly the flaw he has just named. 15,144 of them divided across 35 classes of teaching. He could simply send them east. He does not. The scriptures stay where they are, and the reason he gives is not scarcity or fragility. It is that a gift handed over costs nothing, and what costs nothing is not valued. Someone must go and get them, not receive them. Retrieve them in person across whatever distance separates Spirit Mountain from the world he has just judged unworthy. He asks his court for a volunteer willing to find that someone, and Guan Yin steps forward. He does not send her empty-handed, and he does not send her carelessly. He gives her explicit instructions, down to the smallest procedural detail. No flying above the clouds on this errand. Note the distances along the road as she goes, mile by mile, so the journey can later be measured and known. He hands her 5 treasures meant for a pilgrim who has not yet been chosen, who may not even be born. Among them, a cassock that frees its wearer from the wheel of reincarnation, and a staff that wards off evil. Then he tells her to walk. Not to ride her cloud as she could, as any bodhisattva would, but to leave on foot. The same road her eventual courier will one day walk in the other direction. If the errand is worth doing, the errand is worth doing the hard way. Before Guanyin has gone far, before she has met a single demon or crossed a single mountain, the Buddha calls her back for one more thing. He gives her 3 fillets, thin bands meant to be worn like a crown. Golden, constrictive, prohibitive. Side by side, they are indistinguishable. Each one carries its own separate spell, invisible until spoken. Each is built for the same purpose, to be placed on the head of any being she encounters on the road whose magic proves too great to reason with. He does not name a candidate. He does not describe a face. He is arming her in advance against a category of problem, not a person. Whoever eventually wears one of these bands will not be getting a punishment designed around his particular crimes. He will be getting the nearest tool off a shelf that was stocked for him before anyone knew his name. Guanyin takes the fillets, the staff, the cassock, and the rest, and sets out walking east. Somewhere ahead of her, on a road that does not fully exist yet, is a pilgrim who will need every one of them. He will not know when he accepts any of it what he is actually agreeing to. The road exists now, and its scriptures wait at the end of it. Its pilgrim does not exist yet. Far to the east, on a mountain that has not yet noticed it is about to matter, a stone is already ancient. It has been waiting far longer than anyone on Spirit Mountain knows. Chapter 1. The Stone Monkey. On Flower Fruit Mountain, at the eastern edge of the world, a single stone has been standing since the world began. It is not an ordinary boulder shaped by wind and water. Its height comes to 36 feet and 5 inches. Its circumference to 24 feet exactly, numbers that mirror the days of the year and the turning points of the seasons. 9 openings mark its surface, and 8 hollows beside them, echoing the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams of the old cosmic charts. Someone, or something, built the calendar itself into the rock. For ages beyond counting, the stone does nothing but absorb, drinking in the essence of the sun by day and the moon by night. Slowly, it becomes pregnant with a divine embryo. Then, on a day distinguished by nothing external at all, it splits open. What emerges is a stone egg, no larger than a playing ball. There is no attending mother, no ritual, no god presiding over the moment. Only wind. The wind moves across the broken stone and touches the egg, and where it touches, the egg becomes a monkey, fully formed hands and feet, a face, eyes already open. Far away, in the cloud palace of heaven, the Jade Emperor feels it before anyone tells him. A light has crossed the sky, bright enough to reach his own eyes. He sends 2 of his officers, Thousand-Mile Eye and Fair-Wind Ear, to find its source. They search and report back. Nothing has happened yet worth reporting. Only a stone on a mountain called Flower Fruit has given birth to a monkey. That is the whole of it. No war, no theft, no broken law. And still heaven has noticed, and heaven has sent someone to look. It will happen again in the years ahead. A court of gods disturbed by something the monkey has not yet done. It happens now for the first time, before he has taken a single step. The stone monkey does not stay alone for long. He finds the troop of monkeys already living on the mountain, and they take to him without hesitation, sharing their days with him among the peaches and streams. One morning, in the heat of summer, the whole band goes down to bathe in a mountain stream. It leads them to a waterfall they have never properly explored, crashing down from a high cliff, loud enough to be heard before it is seen. Behind its curtain of water, nobody knows what lies. Someone proposes a game. Whoever can pass through the waterfall without harm and return to report what is on the other side will be crowned king of them all. It is said lightly, the kind of thing thrown out at a group of friends with nothing better to decide. The monkeys call it out 3 times. Nobody moves. The stone monkey steps forward. He does not ask what is behind the water, does not send anyone ahead of him to check. He does not wait for a second round of nerve to build in the others. He closes his eyes and leaps straight into the fall. What waits on the other side is not water at all. It is an iron bridge, dry and solid, arching over a hidden world. Beyond the bridge stands a stone dwelling, fully furnished, with beds carved from rock and a stove and basins enough for a whole community to live there in comfort. A tablet is set into the stone above the entrance, and its words name the place plainly. Flower Fruit Mountain, a blessed land. Beneath it, the water curtain cave, a grotto fit for heaven. He returns through the waterfall and tells the others what he found, and they follow him through, scrambling for a share of the space and the furnishings inside. In the middle of that scramble, they turn to him and bow, and the crown is simply his. He takes a new name for the occasion, Handsome Monkey King, and begins, almost at once, to run something like a court. No one contests it. No other monkey steps forward to claim a stronger arm, a sharper mind, a better right to the cave he found. He walked through the water first, and that is the only argument the crown ever needed. Several hundred years pass this way. The exact count is disputed even in the oldest tellings, but the shape of the reign is not. The handsome Monkey King rules a mountain with nothing left to want, orchards heavy with fruit, streams running clean, subjects who owe their comfort to him. There is no war on Flower Fruit Mountain, no famine, no rival pressing at the border. There is only the accumulated ease of several hundred good years. It is at a banquet, in the middle of that ease, that he begins to weep. Nothing has happened. No messenger has arrived, no illness has struck him, no threat has shown itself on the horizon. He is simply sitting among his own subjects, at his own table, and the tears come anyway. The The monkeys around him fall silent, unsure what could possibly be wrong with a king who has everything. He tells them. He is happy now, he says, happier than he has any right to expect. But somewhere ahead of him, waiting without hurry, is Yama, the king of the dead. And behind Yama is the wheel that turns every living thing back into the ground. However long the good years last, they end there. The monkeys try to talk him out of the fear the way friends do. On this mountain, they remind him, he answers to no emperor, fears no phoenix, kneels to no unicorn king. For a moment it seems to work. Then, one by one, they start weeping with him instead. An old monkey, grey with age, steps forward and says what none of the others have thought to say. Only 3 kinds of being ever escape Yama's reach, he tells the king. The Buddhas, the immortals, and the sages who have mastered the way. It is the first useful thing anyone has offered him all evening, and it does what comfort could not. It gives his fear somewhere to go. He does not sleep on it, or wait for a more convenient season. Before the banquet has properly ended, he has already decided. Somewhere beyond this mountain, across water he has never crossed, there are teachers who know how to become one of those 3. Whatever this rain has given him, and it has given him nearly everything, none of it will matter once Yama comes to collect the rest. He announces to the whole gathering, still red-eyed from their own weeping, that he leaves in the morning. Morning comes, and he does exactly what he said he would do. He orders old pines cut down and lashed together into a raft, a length of bamboo trimmed into a punting pole, and fruit loaded aboard for the journey. There is no armory to draw from, no weapon fitted to his hand before he leaves. He has ruled this mountain for several hundred years, and he appoints no one to rule it in his absence. No source names a regent. No council is called to manage the kingdom, while its king is gone, searching for a way to outlive it. He simply boards the raft, alone, and pushes off from the shore that has held his entire life until now. The wind carries him to the southern Jambu continent within days, but the crossing is the easy part. Once he lands, he has no teacher waiting, no map to a mountain that might hold one. He spends 8 or 9 years there, searching a coastline of strangers for anything resembling an answer. He dresses himself in stolen human clothes and copies human customs badly enough that fishers and hunters scatter at the sight of him. None of it produces what he came for. Eventually, he builds a second raft and crosses again to the western Aparagodania continent, still searching, still without a name for what he wants beyond the word immortality. He left a kingdom behind him with nothing but fruit and a pole to protect him on the way out. Whatever waits for him now, on whichever shore comes next, he will meet it exactly as unequipped as he arrived on this one. Chapter 2. The Cave of the Slanting Moon. 9 years now. 2 oceans crossed, 2 coastlines searched, and nothing found that answers the one question he carries with him. How does a creature stop dying? Then, on the western Aparagodania continent, he hears a man singing. The voice comes from a slope thick with pine and cypress, a woodcutter working alone with an axe. The song he is singing sounds like nothing Wukong has heard from any hunter or fisherman on either coast. It speaks of clouds and companions, of trading fame for a quiet hillside, of wine under moonlight with old friends. It sounds like the kind of thing an immortal would say if an immortal ever bothered to say anything to him. He steps out from the trees and calls the woodcutter a spirit of the Tao, certain, for the first time in years, that he has finally found what he came for. The woodcutter laughs and sets down his axe. He is no immortal, he says, just a man cutting firewood to support his mother. The song was a gift taught to him by a real immortal who lives on a mountain nearby, to help him carry his troubles more lightly when they got too heavy. He offers the words the way a man passes along something useful he doesn't fully understand himself. The teacher's name is Subhuti. The mountain is 7 or 8 li from here, past a bend in the ridge, and anyone can find it who knows to look. Wukong has spent almost a decade choosing coastlines at random, dressing badly as a man, watching strangers scatter at the sight of him. None of it was aimed at anything. This is the first time the search has had a direction at all, and he did not find it. He walked into a song someone else was singing for a different reason entirely, and it pointed him exactly where he needed to go. He thanks the woodcutter and turns toward the ridge without waiting to hear the rest of the song. The mountain is called Lingtai Fangkun, and the cave inside it carries a name that sounds like a description of the sky itself, the cave of the slanting moon and 3 stars. Subhuti's disciples find Wukong outside it and lead him in before he has to ask twice. The master who greets him is old in a way that seems less like age than permanence, seated on a high platform with 30 disciples arranged below him in rows. Wukong drops to the ground and knocks his head against the floor of the cave again and again until Subhuti finally asks who taught him such reckless manners. Wukong has no answer beyond the truth. Nobody taught him anything. He acts the way he acts because it has never once occurred to him not to. Subhuti asks where he comes from, and Wukong tells him plainly. The mountain of flowers and fruit, the water curtain cave, a stone that split open and let him out into the world with no father and no mother. Subhuti studies him for a long moment, then says he is somewhat different from other people, and asks what exactly he is. It is the kind of question meant to make a stranger stumble, to expose whatever gap sits between what he claims and what he is. Wukong does not stumble. He describes himself the way anyone might describe themselves: a round head, square feet, 4 limbs, 9 openings, no different in his making from any other creature in Subhuti's hall. He does not defend the stone. He simply tells Subhuti what is true at the same weight as everything else he has said, and lets the old man decide what to do with it. It works. Subhuti accepts him as a disciple and gives him a task before a teaching, joining the general order of chores that keep the mountain running, sweeping the grounds, tending the garden, cutting firewood, and fetching water. 6 or 7 years pass this way, ordinary labor filling ordinary days, until one afternoon Subhuti gathers everyone to lecture on the Tao itself, and the chores stop mattering. Subhuti works through the paths he calls side gate methods, one after another. Each comes dressed in the language of self-improvement, of magic, of scripture, of quiet withdrawal into meditation, of years spent purifying the body through diet and breath. Every time, Wukong asks the same question. Will it grant him eternal life? Every time, the answer is no, and every time he refuses it outright, with no interest in a path that leads anywhere short of what he came for. Most disciples would have learned by the second refusal to keep their doubts to themselves. Wukong asks a third time and a fourth, until Subhuti climbs down from his seat and picks up the disciplinary ruler kept for striking the unruly. He hits him 3 times across the head, then walks off toward the rear of the hall, hands folded behind his back, saying nothing further to anyone. The other disciples take it as a rebuke and move on with their day. Wukong takes it as something else entirely. 3 strikes. Hands folded behind the back. He has spent 9 years reading currents and coastlines for a sign that never came. He reads this one instantly, correctly. The only person in the hall who understands it is not a punishment at all. It is an appointment. 3 strikes for the 3rd watch of the night. A closed door at the back for the door he is meant to use. He says nothing to the others and waits for the hall to empty. At midnight, he goes around by the back entrance and finds it standing ajar, exactly as the signal promised. Inside, Subhuti is waiting for him alone, and for the first time since he arrived on this mountain, there is no audience, no lecture hall, no chores to finish before anything real can begin. Behind the closed door, Subhuti teaches him the secret of immortality itself, the real doctrine the side gate methods only gestured toward. Wukong absorbs it in a single night, the way another student might take years to absorb a fraction of it. But before any of that, before the teaching even begins, Subhuti has a name to give him. It comes first because nothing that follows can happen to someone who doesn't yet have one. He looks at Wukong and sees a face he already half recognizes, something like a macaque, a pygnolia-eating monkey the local dialect would call Husun. The word only works this way in the sound and shape of the original Chinese, but Subhuti takes it apart like a craftsman taking apart a lock. Strip the beast radical from the first half of the word Hu, and what remains means old moon, the fading side of yin. Old yin cannot reproduce. It is a dead end dressed as a name, and Subhuti sets it aside without a second thought. He tries the second half instead, removing the same radical from son, and this time the pieces that remain spell out boy and lineage, a child and the promise of one to follow him. It matches, precisely, a doctrine his school keeps about the baby boy, the alchemical seed from which a true immortal is grown. The surname is decided. Wukong will be called Sun. For the given name, Subhuti reaches for a naming scheme his branch of the school has used for 12 generations of students, each generation marked by a fixed character passed down in order. Wukong has arrived in time for the 10th. That character is Wu, awakened. Subhuti completes it himself, adding Kong, emptiness, and the full name settles into place. Sun Wukong, awakened to emptiness. The same root that gives Subhuti his own name runs quietly underneath the one he has just given away, a teacher naming a student partly after himself without saying so. He has been Stone Monkey since the day the rock split open, and handsome Monkey King since the day he stepped through a waterfall no one else would enter. Both names arrived because of what he did. This one arrives because of what someone else saw in him, spoken over him rather than earned by him, the first name in his life that comes from anyone but himself. Three years pass under Subhuti's teaching, and Wukong masters the secret of immortality as completely as anyone on the mountain has ever seen it mastered. Then Subhuti calls him in and tells him what that mastery has actually cost him. Anyone who defies the natural order and lives forever draws heaven's attention eventually, and heaven answers defiance with three calamities, spaced roughly 500 years apart. A thunderbolt to strike him down outright. A fire that burns from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet without any outer flame to see. A wind that enters through the skull and dissolves everything inside it, more thorough than either of the others. Immortality, Subhuti tells him, is not an escape from death. It is a louder invitation to it. Against this, Subhuti offers him a choice between two sets of transformations, 36 drawn from heaven's own patterns, or 72 drawn from the earth's. Wukong picks the larger number without hesitation, reasoning that more is simply better. Subhuti teaches him all 72, one after another, until each one sits in his body the way walking already does. What he does not yet know, and what Subhuti does not explain, is that each mastered shape will one day function as something closer to a second life, a way of surviving blows that should have finished him. Later, sitting outside with the household as the sun goes down over the mountain, Subhuti asks him to demonstrate cloud flight, the ordinary method any trained immortal uses to travel. Wukong lifts off the ground, rises 5 or 6 zhang into the air, covers perhaps a mile, and comes back down again, pleased with himself. Subhuti is not pleased. He watches the whole demonstration and calls it climbing dressed up as flying, nothing like the soaring a true immortal carries. A true immortal reaches the northern sea by morning and Kangwu by evening, in the space of a single day. Wukong asks, without any wounded pride, to be taught the better way. What Subhuti gives him is the cloud's somersault, a single leap capable of carrying him 108,000 li before he lands. Between the calamities and the leap, Subhuti has handed him exactly what the search for immortality was always going to require, a way to survive what's coming and a way to get anywhere fast enough to matter when it does. Wukong is no longer the stranger who knocked his head against the cave floor without knowing the customs of the place. He has religious brothers now, disciples who trained beside him for years and watched him absorb what took others decades. And among them he has become something worth watching. One afternoon they gather around him and ask him to prove it, to turn himself into something none of them could manage. He chooses a pine tree and in front of the whole group becomes one. Roots and bark and needles complete, indistinguishable from any tree on the mountain until he steps back out of it a moment later. The brothers cheer. It is the same instinct that once sent him leaping first through a waterfall while every other monkey hesitated, the belief that being seen and admired is its own kind of proof. For a moment it works exactly as it always has. Then the noise reaches Subhuti. He comes out from his quarters and orders the disciples away without raising his voice, and once they've gone, he turns to Wukong alone. He asks what possessed him to perform in front of an audience at all, and gives his answer before Wukong can offer one of his own. Somebody with an interest in taking what Wukong has learned might have seen exactly what just happened. Subhuti will not have his own name attached, even by circumstance, to whatever harm follows from it. His judgment is immediate, and it is final. Wukong must leave the mountain, tonight, before the sun rises on tomorrow. He frames the expulsion as protection, an old teacher shielding a student from consequences the student cannot yet see coming. Nothing in his voice suggests punishment. But the timing sits exactly where the applause was loudest, immediately after a display meant to be seen and rewarded with attention, and Subhuti says nothing to close that gap. Whether he is protecting Wukong from the world or removing a habit he has decided will get him killed is a question the old man leaves standing, unresolved, in the same breath he uses to send him away. Before Wukong goes, Subhuti extracts one promise and delivers it with a severity that has nothing administrative about it. Wukong is never, under any circumstance, to tell another living soul who taught him. If he ever names Subhuti as his master, Subhuti warns, he will know of it instantly. Wukong's bones will be broken and his soul banished to the place of ninefold darkness, from which no number of afflictions will ever release him. Should he so much as breathe half a word of it, Subhuti adds, he will find him and skin him alive. It is a threat too large for a disagreement about manners, too large even for the loss of a teacher's protection. It is the kind of warning one gives only when the bond being severed was real enough to be worth guarding this fiercely, and Wukong hears it as exactly that. He kneels one last time, promises silence, and does not ask to stay. He turns back toward the coast, toward the ocean he crossed twice already. He carries transformations no one else on either continent possesses, a leap that can cross the world in a single bound, and a name given to him by a man he can never again claim as his teacher. The promise holds. Through everything that follows, through every question anyone will ever ask him about where his power came from, he will not say the name. He is keeping it still. Chapter 3. A weapon, a ledger, a stable. The Dragon King of the Eastern Sea has ruled his palace for longer than any mortal dynasty has lasted, and no one has ever spoken to him the way the monkey now standing in his throne room does. Wukong wants a weapon. Not a sword, not a spear, not the ceremonial blade the Dragon King's attendants first bring out on a lacquered tray. He hefts it, frowns, and hands it back. Too light. The pattern repeats. A 9-pronged rake dismissed. A pair of long-handled halberds dismissed. Each time, the Dragon King produces something heavier, and each time Wukong tests its weight in one hand and finds it wanting, the way a man might turn over a coin and find it counterfeit by feel alone. The Dragon King's expression tightens with each rejection. He is running out of armory. It is the Dragon Queen who remembers the pillar. Buried at the bottom of the palace's inner sea, marking the depth of the water since the days of the Great Flood, an iron rod has sat untouched for centuries, glowing faintly on its own for the last 2 nights, though no one connected the light to the visitor now standing in their hall. She mentions it almost as an afterthought, Nothing else is left to offer him. They lead him down to it. 20 feet of black iron, thick as a barrel, capped in gold at either end. Wukong sets his hands against it and says out loud that it is too long and too thick. The pillar shrinks. Not by his effort, not by any ritual the Dragon King's attendants perform, but by the simple fact of his saying so. It contracts to the width of a bowl, then to something a man could swing with one arm, and along its gold banding, letters surface that were not visible a moment before. Its own name, its own weight. 13,500 katis inscribed on the metal as though it had been waiting for someone strong enough to read the number and mean it. This is the Rui Jingu Bang. He did not forge it, did not win it in combat, did not earn the right to hold it through any trial. It has simply been sitting at the bottom of the sea for centuries, waiting for a hand it would recognize, and his happens to be the first one it ever meets. He shrinks it further, down to the size of a sewing needle, and tucks it behind his ear, where it will stay until he calls for it again. Before he leaves the palace, he leans on the Dragon King's brothers for armor to match it, and gets that too. He walks out of the sea with everything he came for, and nothing that was rightfully his to take. That night, back on his mountain, Wukong drinks with his monkey subjects until he falls into a heavy sleep. He does not wake in his own bed. Two figures with black ropes stand over him, and by the time he understands what is happening, the rope is already around his neck, and his spirit is already being dragged down a road he has never walked. He wakes fully alert in the underworld, standing before a gate marked Region of Darkness, and demands to know why he was taken. A clerk checks the register and gives him an answer he did not ask for. His fated age of death is 342. This is not a threat. It is bookkeeping, delivered the way any clerk delivers a number that is simply true, filed and stamped, and never meant to be argued with. Wukong argues with it anyway. He does not plead his case to the kings of hell, does not ask for an extension or a reprieve. He demands the register itself, and when it is brought, he takes up the brush and finds his own name among the thousands listed there. He crosses it out. Then, still holding the brush, he keeps going, working down the page, striking every monkey's name from the register of death, erasing not one exception, but an entire category of the ledger. He is not asking to be spared. He is declaring that the rule was never going to apply to his kind again, and leaving before anyone can tell him otherwise. He walks out of the underworld the way he walked out of the Dragon Palace, holding something no one agreed to give him, and no clerk or king stops him at the gate. He returns to Flower Fruit Mountain unbound now by death, and armed with a weapon that answers only to him, and it is in this state that he does something he has never done before or will do again. He forms a brotherhood. 6 other demon kings across the region swear an oath with him, and among them the Bull Demon King stands foremost, senior to Wukong by rank, a title Wukong accepts and keeps for the rest of the story. Elder brother. It is the only relationship in Wukong's entire life built on declared equality rather than command, defiance, or hierarchy imposed from above. It will not be tested again for a long while, but when it is, everything it promises comes due. Word of the theft, the erasure and the brotherhood reaches heaven at roughly the same time, carried by the dragon kings and the kings of hell, each with their own complaint. The Jade Emperor convenes his court to decide what to do about a monkey who has, in a matter of weeks, stolen an ungrantable weapon, unmade a law of death, and gathered an army of demon lords who now call him brother. Most of the court wants force. Taibai Ginseng, the planet Venus in human form, argues for something else. Wukong does not want war. He tells the assembled court. He wants to matter. Give him a post, a title, somewhere inside the structure of heaven itself, and he will settle the way any creature settles once it believes it has been let in. The Jade Emperor agrees, mostly because it costs nothing to try. Wukong is summoned to the celestial court itself, escorted through gates he has never passed through before, and given a position in the stables. Bimawin, keeper of nearly 1,000 heavenly horses. He does not ask what the title means. He hears only that heaven has made a place for him, and that is enough. He takes the job seriously in a way no one expects. He feeds the horses before dawn, grooms them until their coats shine, sleeps among them rather than in the quarters assigned to him, and within days the entire stable is healthier and calmer than it has been under any keeper before him. For a short while there is peace in heaven for the first time since he split the stone. The peace lasts exactly as long as his ignorance does. At a stable banquet, another official mentions, without any particular malice, that Bimawen is the lowest rank in the entire celestial bureaucracy. Unsalaried. Beneath even the most minor immortal. Wukong asks what rank that makes him, and the answer confirms it. He asks how long the position has held that standing, and learns it has always been this. He was never elevated. He was filed. He does not argue the point with the official who told him. He kicks over the feed troughs, throws off the uniform of his office, and returns to Flower Fruit Mountain the same day, where he declares, to no one who has the authority to grant it, that he is now the great sage equal to heaven. He has invented the title himself, and he intends to hold it by force if no one above him agrees to it. The Jade Emperor sends soldiers this time. Li Jing and his son Nezha lead the arrest, and Wukong meets them at the base of his own mountain and beats them until they retreat, unable to bring him in and unwilling to say so plainly to the court that sent them. Taibai Ginseng speaks again, and again he is heard. Rather than fight a war they may not win, grant the title. It costs heaven nothing but a name it did not choose, and a name, he argues, is not the same as power. Let the self-declared great sage equal to heaven have a mansion built for him, 2 attendants assigned to serve him, and a position overseeing the Queen Mother's peach garden, which produces the fruit that keeps every immortal in heaven immortal. It is, on paper, a considerable honor. Wukong accepts it exactly the way he accepted the first one. Fully and without suspicion. He tends the garden as he tended the stables, learns which trees bear fruit that ripens once every 3,000 years, which bear fruit every 6,000, which bear fruit only once every 9,000 years, and grant whoever eats it eternity itself. He eats freely from all 3, believing this privilege comes with the office he now holds. What comes next is not an office. The Queen Mother is preparing her peach banquet, the grandest gathering on the celestial calendar, and every immortal of standing is being invited by name. Wukong, keeper of the very garden the banquet depends on, is not on the list. He learns this from a passing fairy sent to gather peaches for the feast, who does not recognize him and explains, without any sense that she is delivering bad news, that the great sage was never invited in the first place. It was decided he did not belong at a table with guests of that rank. A stable, he was told, was an honor. A title with his own name attached to it and no real power behind it. A garden whose fruit keeps every guest at a banquet alive forever, and no seat for him at that banquet's table. Something in Wukong goes still and then goes cold. He puts the fairies to sleep with a spell, sheds his own likeness entirely, and walks into the Jade Pool banquet hall disguised as no one in particular. The tables are already set for guests who have not yet arrived. Wine sits poured in cups no one has touched, immortal peaches piled in bowls no mortal hand has ever been permitted near, and Wukong, alone in a hall built for the highest company in the cosmos, sits down at the table anyway. He drinks first. Then he eats, and does not stop at one course or two. Jar after jar of the Queen Mother's own wine, peach after peach, meant for guests who have waited 1,000 years for the honor of this single evening, and with every cup the hall empties a little further of what made it a celebration at all. Drunk now, and still unrecognized, he wanders out of the hall and into the wrong palace. Tushita, the residence of Laozi, keeper of the elixir that grants transcendence to those who consume it correctly and in careful measure. Wukong finds gourds of the finished pills, thousands of them by some accounts, and eats them the way a starving man eats bread, without ceremony, without restraint. He does not stay to see what happens next. Somewhere in the fog of the elixir and the wine, a fragment of clarity returns to him, enough to recognize that a banquet stripped bare and a furnace of pills emptied by one uninvited guest will not go unanswered. He flees the way he has fled every consequence before this one, back down to Flower Fruit Mountain, back to the one place that has never yet failed to take him in. Behind him, the Jade Pool sits half-lit and mostly empty. Heaven has tried patience twice and failed twice. What is left, now that a monkey has eaten his way through everything it had to offer him, is no longer negotiation. It is the only tool heaven has not yet used. Chapter 4. The Palm. That tool arrives as an army. The Jade Emperor sends 100,000 celestial soldiers to surround Flower Fruit Mountain. Generals with names for every kind of weapon. War gods who have never lost a battle because no one has ever made them fight one. They come expecting a rout. What they find is a monkey who has spent centuries training under an immortal master, who carries an iron rod that shrinks to the size of a needle when he wants it to, who can pull a hair from his own body and breathe it into 1,000 more of himself. The first waves break against him and do not come back together. A general charges and is disarmed before he understands the shape of the fight he is in. Another falls, and another, and the soldiers behind them see it happen and come anyway, because an order from heaven is not a request. The field fills with celestial troops who now understand too late that this was never a punishment detail. It was a war and no one had told them. Word returns to the Jade Emperor in pieces, then all at once. Beaten commanders, broken formations, an army that outnumbers its enemy by tens of thousands and still cannot close the distance. Heaven has never had to ask anyone for help. It is asking now. Guan Yin is the one who answers. She does not offer another soldier. She offers a name. Erlang Shen, the Jade Emperor's own nephew, a warrior with a third eye set into the center of his forehead. An eye that does not see shapes so much as it sees through them. Every disguise Wukong has ever worn means nothing against him. Every one of the 72 transformations he learned from his old master, useless against a gaze that was never fooled by shape in the first place. Erlang comes down alone. The two of them meet not as army and rebel, but as equal against equal, for the first time since the stones split open. "300 rounds pass between them, blow answered by blow, and nothing gives. Neither man tires. Neither man yields ground he cannot immediately take back. It is the longest anyone has stood against Wukong without falling, and it changes nothing, because a stalemate is still not a defeat. So the fight changes shape instead. Wukong becomes a sparrow, small and fast, and Erlang becomes a hawk behind him before the wings have finished forming. Wukong drops into a river and becomes a fish, and a fish-hawk is already circling above the water. He becomes a water snake, and a grey crane is waiting on the bank. Each new shape meets its answer before it has time to hide in it. He tries a temple last, folding his whole body into beams and tile and an open door. His tail curls into a flagpole at the back, where a flagpole would not ordinarily stand. Erlang studies it once and understands exactly what he is looking at. He does not walk through the front door. He raises his bow to put an arrow through the windows instead, and Wukong abandons the shape rather than let it be broken around him. There is nowhere left to hide, so he stops hiding and starts hunting. He flies straight for the one place in heaven where a version of Erlang Shen already stands undisturbed, a small shrine built to Erlang's own likeness. He takes that likeness for himself, settling into it as though he had always belonged there, accepting offerings that were never his to accept. For a moment it holds. Then the real Erlang arrives at his own front door and finds someone else already sitting in judgment over it. The two grapple again in their true forms, and the fight is exactly where it started. It ends from outside the jewel entirely. Above them, Laozi has been watching without joining, and he chooses this moment to throw a diamond snare down onto Wukong's unguarded head. It lands hard enough to stagger him, long enough for Erlang's hunting dog to close the last distance and sink its teeth into his leg. He goes down not because Erlang beat him. He goes down because a third party who was never part of the terms decided the terms did not apply to him. They bind him where he falls and drag him up to heaven in chains that would hold anything else that has ever been chained. Heaven tries to kill him first before it tries anything cleverer. Blades are brought to his throat and turn without cutting. He is thrown onto a pyre and stands up out of the ashes unmarked. Lightning is called down on him directly, bolt after bolt, and he stands through all of it the way a man might stand through rain. Every method heaven has for this problem was designed for a kind of enemy that Wukong stopped being a long time ago. A body hardened in his own training, a name already scrubbed off the ledgers of the dead by his own hand. It falls to Laozi to suggest something slower. He offers his own 8 trigrams furnace, a cauldron built in 8 chambers, each one governed by a different trigram out of the old cosmic order. Fire enough in it to refine raw ore into elixir over 49 days of continuous burning. If blades and lightning cannot kill him outright, perhaps fire can wear him down instead. They seal him inside. The chamber Wukong lands in happens to fall under the trigram for wind. He reasons correctly that wherever wind moves through a space, fire has less room to follow it. He curls himself into that corner and waits out the days there, untouched by the flames licking at every other chamber around him. It works exactly as he intends it to. What he does not account for is the smoke. Wind does not just push flame away. It carries what the flame gives off, and 49 days inside a furnace fills that wind chamber with smoke that has nowhere else to go. It settles into his eyes the way soot settles into anything left too long in its path. By the time Laozi finally opens the furnace, certain he will find nothing left to open it for, Wukong's eyes have been permanently reddened, ringed gold, changed by something that was never meant to touch him at all. He will carry a chronic, sore-eyed ache behind them for the rest of his life. He will also, from this day forward, see through every disguise anyone ever tries to wear in front of him. The smoke that was supposed to finish him instead gave him a new way of seeing, one that nothing meant to deceive him will ever get past again. He does not stagger out weakened. He kicks the furnace door off its hinges and steps out of it stronger than he went in. The guards posted outside scatter before he has taken 3 steps. There is nothing left in heaven's arsenal. Every blade has failed, every fire has failed, and the one weapon that was supposed to be certain has only made the problem worse. The Jade Emperor has never in his reign had to ask another power for help. He sends word to the Buddha instead, because there is no one left above him to ask. The Buddha does not bring soldiers. He proposes a bet. If Wukong can leap clear of his open palm, a palm not even a foot across, the throne of heaven will be handed over to him. Freely, with the Buddha's own word behind it. If he cannot, he forfeits, though no one troubles to specify exactly what that forfeit will look like. No one in that room expects it to come to that. Wukong certainly does not expect it. He has already fought an army to a standstill and outlasted a furnace built to erase him. He knows what his own body can do. A single somersault carries him 108,000 li through open sky. The hand in front of him now is smaller than the doorway of his own cave on Flower Fruit Mountain. He accepts before the terms have finished being explained, already certain of how this ends. He leaps and the world blurs past him the way it always does at that speed. Mountains and clouds and whole provinces gone in a single breath. He does not slow down until something ahead of him finally looks like an edge. 5 great pink pillars rising into the sky where nothing should still be standing this far out. This, he decides, must be the boundary of the created world itself, the last fixed point before there is nothing left to fly through. He wants proof he was here. So he writes his name across the base of the nearest pillar in his own hand, the great sage equal to heaven. For good measure, he adds his own urine at the foot of it before turning back the way he came. He returns exactly as certain as he left, dropping back down in front of the Buddha to claim what was promised him. The Buddha does not argue. He simply opens the hand that has not moved this entire time and turns it so Wukong can see the underside of one finger. The name is there, written in Wukong's own unmistakable hand. Beneath it, faint but unmistakable too, is the scent he left behind at what he thought was the furthest edge of everything that exists. He never reached any boundary. He never left the palm at all. Every pillar he stood beside was a finger on the hand he was still standing inside of. The 108,000 lie he was so certain had carried him past heaven's whole reach had carried him nowhere farther than across one open palm. The Buddha closes his fingers before Wukong can pull free of them and turns his hand over. Where a palm was, a mountain now stands in its place. Wukong is beneath it, pinned under stone the way the smallest insect might be pinned under a hand that was never trying very hard. 5 Elements Mountain settles over him, his name and his own mark still drying somewhere on a finger folded now into rock. A fight this monkey believed he had already won. He had never once left the hand of the one being he could not outfly, outfight, or outthink. Chapter 5. A Gift with Teeth. 5 Elements Mountain settled over him with his name still drying on the finger folded into rock. That was 500 years ago. Under the mountain, Wukong does not age and does not starve and does not sleep the way a mortal sleeps. He simply waits, because there is nothing else the mountain has left him able to do. He cannot lift an arm. He cannot turn his head more than a few degrees before the rock answers with its own immovable weight. The single freedom left to him is breath, and even that feels borrowed rather than owned. He will say later that every day beneath the mountain felt like a year. In 500 of them, nobody he knows ever comes. No jailer checks the seal. No visitor climbs the slope to look at what's buried there. Nothing about it was ever meant to be temporary. He is, for 500 years, less a prisoner than a fact of the landscape, filed under stone and mostly forgotten. It is into the last stretch of that weight that Guanyin's shadow finally crosses the mountain's face. She is traveling east on the Buddha's own errand, carrying a set of instructions and 5 treasures for a pilgrim she has not yet found, when a voice reaches her from somewhere beneath the rock. It knows her. It has had 500 years to think about what it would say if anyone with the power to matter ever passed this way again, and what it says now is a plea. Guanyin does not soften. Her first words to him carry no relief at being heard, no comfort extended to a suffering creature. "You wretch," she says. "You have such an appalling criminal record that I'm afraid you'd only make more trouble if I let you out." She has read the reports. She knows exactly what he did to earn this mountain, and 5 centuries of stillness has not, in her judgment, purchased him anything. This is not compassion meeting gratitude. This is suspicion meeting a stranger's claim, and the claim is all Wukong has to offer her. He tells her he has changed. He says it plainly, the way a man says the only thing left available to say. There is no way for her to check it. No test she can run on a creature sealed in rock. No history of behavior to weigh against the words. She has his voice and nothing else. And on that alone, she decides something, though not the thing he is hoping for. She does not free him. She tells him there is a mission forming, a pilgrim not yet chosen, a road not yet walked. When the pilgrim comes this way, he can be freed to serve it. Until then, he waits again, still sealed, still unproven, on the strength of a promise made to someone who has not yet been born to keep it. She leaves him there and continues east because the mountain was never the mission. The mission is still ahead of her, half of it not yet formed. The other half is about to begin its life several hundred miles away, in a city that has no idea what it's about to send west. The story of how that pilgrim comes to exist arrives in most tellings, wrapped in violence that has nothing to do with scripture or sainthood. It is worth saying plainly that this part of the account is a later edition, absent from the novel's earliest surviving edition. Scholars disagree about how it came to exist at all, some arguing it was borrowed wholesale from a different, slightly later book, others arguing it reconstructs a genuine chapter the earliest edition had simply lost. It has traveled with him for centuries regardless, told and retold until the distinction between history and edition stopped mattering to most who heard it. A newly appointed prefect named Chen Guangrui is murdered on the road to his post by a bandit named Liu Hong, who wants his rank more than his life. Liu Hong takes both. He assumes the dead man's name, his position, his household, and forces the widow, pregnant with Chen Guangrui's child, to live as his own. She has no path back to the life that was stolen from her, and no way to protect the child she is carrying once it's born into a house ruled by her husband's killer. When the boy comes, she does the only thing available to a woman with no power and one choice worth making. She sets him adrift on a river, on a plank of wood, rather than let him be raised or killed under that roof. A monastery finds him. They raise him without knowing what he is. He grows up believing his own quiet devotion is simply his nature, not the last surviving piece of a family a murderer tried to erase. At 18, he learns the truth, who his father was, what was done to him, and what his mother endured to keep him alive long enough to ask. The bandit is executed. The family, what's left of it, is briefly whole again. And the boy who was set adrift on a river grows into the man history will remember as Tang Sanzang. He is a monk shaped, before he ever takes a single step west, by loss he did not choose and a debt he did not ask to carry. None of this is why the Tang Emperor selects him. By the time the court goes looking for someone to carry an imperial mission to the western regions, Tang Sanzang is known simply for what he has become. He is a monk of unusual discipline and learning, respected enough that his name reaches the palace on its own. The emperor summons him, lays out the charge directly, and asks him to travel west and bring back the Buddhist scriptures the Eastern world has been denied. Tang Sanzang accepts. Before he departs, the emperor names him a sworn brother, a gesture that elevates the mission from religious errand to matter of state. It binds an emperor's honor to a monk's road. He leaves Chang'an with little more than the charge itself, a mission with no fixed timeline and no guarantee of return. It simply begins, the way long journeys do, with a single direction chosen and a city falling away behind him. Weeks or months into that road, it brings him to a mountain he has no reason to recognize, its base sealed the way it has always been sealed. And from somewhere beneath that stone, a voice reaches him too. Wukong recognizes what Tang Sanzang cannot yet know he's walking toward, a pilgrim, finally, the one Guanyin promised would come. He calls out, and the monk, startled by a voice with no visible source, approaches the mountain to find its origin. What he finds is a face pressed into a gap in the rock, aged by nothing, marked by nothing, waiting with a patience that has had 500 years to become total. Tang Sanzang listens to the story Wukong gives him, freed from prejudice by simple ignorance of who this creature actually is. He does what 500 years and an army of heaven could not undo. He sets him loose. Wukong comes free. The two of them travel together only a short distance before the trouble starts. 6 bandits stop them on the road, and Wukong kills all 6 without hesitation or apparent difficulty. To him, this is protection, the same instinct that has guided every fight he has ever chosen to have. To Tang Sanzang, it is something closer to horror. 6 lives ended in front of him by a creature he freed only hours before. The two part ways over it, the pilgrim continuing alone rather than travel beside that kind of violence. He does not get far before Guanyin finds him. She has been watching, and she has something for him. A cap lined with fine brocade, plain enough to pass for an ordinary monk's garment. She teaches him a spell in private, a set of words that will tighten the cap's hidden fillet against anything wearing it. She is careful about one detail above all others. Wukong is never to learn it. Not the words, not their trigger, not even that such a spell exists. Whatever protection this gives Tang Sanzang over his companion, it only works as long as Wukong has no way to counter it, no defense against a weapon he doesn't know is aimed at him. Wukong returns, contrite in his own fashion, and the two reconcile. When he sees the cap, he asks about it, and Tang Sanzang tells him it was his own, a garment from his childhood, offered now as a peace between them. Wukong believes this. He has no reason not to, and the cap is, by any measure he can judge, simply a gift, the first one anyone has given him freely since the mountain closed over him 500 years before. He puts it on. It fits close to the skull, snug the way a well-made cap fits, and Wukong thinks nothing more of it until Tang Sanzang, watching him settle it into place, begins to speak the words Guanyin taught him. The fillet answers before Wukong understands what is happening. It tightens and keeps tightening, striking root into skin and bone the way nothing in 500 years under a mountain ever managed to. He claws at it, and his hands find no seam, no clasp, nothing to work loose. The pain is total, a pressure behind his eyes that feels, by his own later description, like his skull is splitting from within, and it does not stop until Tang Sanzang stops reciting. When it ends, Wukong understands 2 things at once. The cap will never come off. And the man who gave it to him lied about where it came from and why. He does not attack. There is nothing to attack that would help him now. No target the fillet would release him from reaching. What he has instead is the plain fact of the arrangement, laid bare the moment the pain receded enough to think through it. He is bound to this monk, not by loyalty freely given, but by a device he cannot see and cannot remove, controlled by words only one of them will ever know. The gift was never a gift. It was the leash offered as kindness so it would be worn willingly, and only revealed as what it actually was once refusal was no longer an option. This is how the two of them begin, protector and protected, on a road neither chose without deception folded somewhere into the choosing. It will not be the last time the fillet tightens. It will be used again later, when Tang Sanzang's judgment is not so certain and his patience runs shorter than his wisdom. For now, there is only the road west, a monk with a secret he intends to keep, and a monkey who has just learned that even freedom, when it's handed to you, is worth checking twice. Chapter 6. 5 strangers, 1 road. In the waters of Eagle Grief Stream, a white dragon waits without knowing what he's waiting for. He was Wukong, 3rd son of the Dragon King of the West Sea, before an accident undid him. He set fire to the palace and burned a string of sacred pearls, a mistake severe enough that his own father reported him to the court of heaven rather than shield him. The sentence was death. Only Guan Yin's intervention spared him. In exchange for his life, she gave him an assignment he doesn't fully understand yet. Stay in this stream on this mountain and wait for a monk who will pass through on his way west. He has been waiting a long time. He does not know the monk's face, only that he is coming. When Tang Sanzang finally arrives, riding the horse gifted to him back in Chang'an, Wukong doesn't recognize the man Guan Yin described. He sees a horse, and instinct takes over before judgment does. He rises from the water and eats it. The monk is left standing on the road, alone and shaking, while Wukong is away scouting ahead. When Wukong returns to find the horse gone and Sanzang badly frightened, he doesn't ask questions. He goes straight into the stream after the dragon, and the two of them fight until Wukong, outmatched, dives for the depths and refuses to surface again. Wukong is still shouting down into the water when Guan Yin appears on the road. She explains what neither of them knew. This was never a stray beast. This was the horse arranged for the mission, waiting exactly where she'd left him, and the eating was simply premature. She calls Wukong up, and he comes, chastened, hearing for the first time that the ragged monk standing frightened on the roadside is the one he was sent here for. He transforms, taking the shape of the exact animal he devoured, down to the color of its coat, and kneels to be saddled. Sanzang has his horse back. He has no idea it once had teeth. Not far ahead, in a farming settlement called Gao Village, a different kind of disguise has been running much longer. For months, a hard-working laborer has lived there under a human face, married into the Gao family, and worked their fields with a strength no ordinary man could match. The soil under his hands outproduces every neighboring farm. The family grows wealthy on it and asks no questions, the way people rarely do when the answer is working in their favor. But a disguise this good is still a disguise, and it slips. His true shape starts showing through at night, in unguarded moments, until the family can no longer pretend not to notice what has been living among them. Terrified, they send for anyone who can drive it out. That call reaches Wukong. He arrives to find not a monster mid-rampage, but something closer to a domestic crisis, a household afraid of the very hands that fed it. When the creature reveals himself fully, he is enormous, snouted, more boar than man, and he doesn't wait to be accused. He comes at Wukong swinging a 9-toothed rake with the same force he once put into the fields, and the fight that follows is not staged for show. They trade blows through the courtyard and out past the village wall, neither backing down until he turns and runs rather than yield any further ground. Wukong follows him to a den he's kept hidden even from the family that took him in, and corners him there. The fight resumes, shorter this time, and ends the way the first one was heading before the run. Beaten, with nowhere left to retreat to, he finally stops. What breaks him isn't the fight. It's what Wukong tells him afterward. Convert, join a mission bound for the Western scriptures, and the punishment eating away at his life can finally be lifted. He accepts and gives his old name to be replaced with a new one, Baji. Only then, cornered and disarmed of pretense, does he explain what actually happened to him, and it isn't the story anyone assumed. He was a commander in heaven once, until a drunken pass at the moon goddess Chang'e at a banquet earned him banishment. That much he'd accepted. It was the punishment he deserved, and no more. What came next wasn't punishment at all. It was a filing error. On his way to a new life, the officials responsible for directing souls into their next bodies misrouted him. Instead of the human form his sentence called for, his soul was dropped into a sow's womb. The tusks, the snout, the shape that has made him a target for exorcism his whole existence, was never handed down by any court. It was a clerical mistake nobody bothered to correct. He says this without the joke he reaches for almost everywhere else, and for a moment the loss underneath the comedy is visible. It isn't the shape itself he grieves. It's that no one ever intended it, that the whole disfiguring accident of his life traces back to a clerk somewhere who simply pointed him toward the wrong door. He leaves Gao village behind him within the hour. A wife who married a hard-working stranger and got a demon revealed underneath him. A farm that made her family rich on his labor. A life he'd built, however he'd built it, and none of it comes with him. Further along the road, at the edge of the flowing sands river, something surfaces that has been waiting even longer than the dragon and hungrier than the pig. He was curtain-raising general once, a minor post at the Queen Mother's court, undone by an accident so small it barely reads as a crime. He broke a crystal goblet at a banquet. For that, he was given 800 lashes and cast down to this river, and the punishment didn't end when the banishment began. Every 7th day, without pause, a flying sword descends and drives itself through his chest and ribs, again and again, a wound that heals only to be reopened on schedule. Cold and starving in the water, he did what starving things do. He preyed on travelers who tried to cross. Among them were 9 monks sent west on this same road for these same scriptures, centuries before Tang Sanzang was ever born. None of them reached the other side. Their bodies sank the way bodies do. Their skulls didn't, where even a goose feather would have gone under. Their skulls stayed on the surface. He strung them together and wore them, the only travelers who ever crossed this river and stayed. When the party reaches the crossing, he doesn't wait to be provoked. He rises from the water and attacks on sight, the skulls swinging against his chest with every strike. Wukong meets him first, and the two grapple at the water's edge. The demon dives and vanishes beneath the surface, safe in the one element where Wukong's strength counts for less. He surfaces to strike and disappears again, over and over, the river swallowing him whole every time the fight turns against him. Baji wades in to help, but neither of them can land the blow that ends it. It's Baji who finally reaches him, not by winning outright, but by getting through to him in the pause between rounds. He tells him the terms Wukong already carries as the mission's protector. That conversion ends the sword, that a mission west is waiting, that Guanyin arranged all of this before either of them ever set foot near this water. Something in the offer lands where the fighting hadn't. He surfaces for good, accepts the new name Wujing, and swears himself to the road. Guanyin, when the terms are settled, gives one instruction that surprises him. Keep the necklace. Don't discard it. He doesn't ask why. For now, there's no way to know that the same bones will carry Tang Sanzang across a river one day. The 9 who failed becoming, without ever intending to, the vessel that finally succeeds. Before the group is fully whole, one encounter arrives to remind them all what the road can still surface from a life someone thought was finished. A hermit alone on a mountain meets the party in passing and greets Baji by a name none of the others have heard. Not the Buddhist name he's just been given, but his old one. From before Gao village, before the banishment, before any of it. The hermit knew him. There was a path once, a serious one. Cultivation offered directly to him by someone whose judgment carried weight, and Baji turned it down. Appetite and comfort were easier, and he chose them. The hermit doesn't scold him for it. He simply says the old name plainly and lets Baji hear what he sounds like to someone who remembers who he could have been. 5 now stand on the road together. A monk. A monkey bound by a band he can't remove. A dragon wearing the shape of the horse he ate. A pig-shaped exile carrying a mistake that was never his fault. And a river demon with 9 skulls around his neck, walking away from the water for the first time in longer than any of them can guess. None of them chose each other. None of them are finished becoming what this road will make of them. But they move west together now. For the first time since the mountain gave way beneath Tang Sanzang's horse, the party whole enough to walk. Chapter 7. The Ginseng Tree. The road brings the newly whole party, before long, to a monastery unlike any they have passed. 2 young Taoist attendants greet them at the gate and as custom for an honored guest demands, bring out a lacquered tray holding 2 pieces of fruit. Tang Sanzang looks down at what he has been offered and does not reach for it. Each piece is shaped unmistakably like an infant no more than 3 days old. Small folded limbs, a rounded head, skin the color of ripe fruit, but a shape that leaves no room for doubt about what it resembles. The attendants explain what he is looking at. The tree that bears this fruit has stood for 10,000 years growing toward this single harvest, and takes another 9,000 to ripen a new one. To eat it is to add centuries to a life. But Tang Sanzang has already stopped listening for the explanation. He sees only the shape, and the shape reads to him as something closer to a crime than a gift. He refuses, disturbed, unable to separate the fruit from what it looks like it might be. The attendants withdraw, taking the tray and its 2 small uneaten shapes back toward the orchard, and the fruit is left where curiosity can reach it. Baji was watching the whole exchange, and what disturbed his master only sharpened his appetite. He corners Wukong and Wu Jing while the attendants are away and talks them into what Tang Sanzang would never permit. The 3 slip into the orchard themselves. Wukong uses his staff to knock several pieces from the ancient tree's branches. Between the 3 of them, the fruit disappears before anyone returns to check on it. 1 piece falls wrong, bounces free of careless hands, and is gone before anyone can catch it. It doesn't roll into the grass or vanish into a pocket. It sinks straight into the earth beneath the tree and is simply absorbed, the ground closing back over it as though it had never fallen at all. None of the 3 notices, or if they do, none of them thinks it worth mentioning. The theft does not stay hidden long. The attendants return to the orchard to find fruit missing from a tree that has stood inviolate for 10,000 years, and they know exactly who was left alone near it. They march back to where the pilgrims are resting and accuse the whole party of theft, loudly, in front of Tang Sanzang himself. It is the kind of accusation that would sting under any circumstances. Wukong did take the fruit. But being called a thief to his face, in front of his master, by 2 boys guarding an orchard, is not an accusation he is prepared to absorb quietly. He answers it by turning on the tree itself. 1 strike of his staff, and 10,000 years of growth comes down at once. The trunk splits, and the roots tear loose from soil that has held them since before the pilgrims' grandparents were born. The tree that survived 9,000 years between harvests dies in the time it takes to swing an iron staff once. It is a wildly disproportionate answer to 2 boys' insults. What Wukong cannot tolerate is not the theft itself, but the accusation spoken aloud to his face, as though he were beneath the argument. Zhenyuan Daxian, master of the monastery and the tree's true keeper, returns to find his 10,000-year orchard down to a single ruined trunk. He is no ordinary immortal disturbed over a garden. He is patriarch of the earth's immortals, a rank of standing enough that even Guanyin, when the tree's fate eventually reaches her, will speak of owing him a certain respect. He listens to what actually happened before he does anything else. He questions his attendants, questions the pilgrims, and works through the matter calmly, with the patience of a being who has had 10,000 years to develop it. It is only when Wukong, unsatisfied with being reasoned with, strikes him directly that Zhenyuan's patience runs out. He captures the entire party in a single motion and gives them 3 days. Cure the tree or answer for it with everything the tightening spell can still take from them. 3 days is not a request. It is a sentence with an exit built into it. Wukong spends the first day looking for anyone who can offer that exit before he has to find it himself. He goes first to the 3-star gods of Penglai, immortals with knowledge deep enough that a dead tree should be a small matter to them. They cannot help. He goes next to Chongan, an alchemist whose skill with roots and remedies is well known across the immortal world. Chongan cannot help either. Each refusal costs him time he does not have, and each one narrows what began as compulsion into something closer to genuine searching. He is no longer stalling for an escape. He is hunting, increasingly without other options, for an actual cure. He finds it, in the end, where he might have gone first. Guanyin marks the center of his palm with a sigil drawn from water itself and tells him to press it against the tree's ruined stump. Where his palm touches the wood, a spring opens in the earth beneath it, clear water rising through roots that had gone still. The pilgrims set the great trunk back upright, packing the torn soil in around it. Guanyin waters it herself, drawing from the new spring with her willow branch and letting it fall across the bark. The tree that Wukong split in a single strike stands again and begins, slowly, to live. Zhenyuan watches his orchard return to what it was, and something in him settles that 3 days of captivity and threat had not been able to force. He hosts a banquet for the whole party, the kind thrown for an honored guest rather than a prisoner released. Before it ends, he and Wukong become sworn brothers, a bond that in this world carries the weight of blood. It is a strange thing for either of them to have arrived at. Wukong destroyed what Zhenyuan had tended across 10,000 years and did it out of nothing nobler than wounded pride. But what he did afterward, once compulsion had run its course and only real effort remained, was enough. The tree stands. The brotherhood is real. Chapter 8. 3 Kingdoms, 3 Trials. The tree stands. The brotherhood between Wukong and Zhenyuan is real, forged from a debt paid under threat that became, somewhere in the paying, something durable. Neither of them, walking away from that banquet, is quite the being who arrived at that orchard gate. Flat Peak Mountain rises ahead of them a few days later, and something about it stops Wukong before the others notice anything wrong. He has learned to read a mountain the way other creatures read weather. This one carries a smell he doesn't like, faint and metallic, the smell of a den kept by something patient. He tells Sanzang to wait and climbs alone to look. 2 demon brothers are already waiting for him, unhurried, as if his caution had only confirmed something they already knew. They are not ordinary mountain demons. The golden-horned king and the silver-horned king spent their working lives tending Laozi's brazier in heaven, feeding his furnace, minding his gold. Guanyin sent them down herself, quietly, to see whether Tang Sanzang's resolve was as solid as it looked on paper. A monk cannot be tested by comfort. He can only be tested by something that might actually kill him. What they carry is the real danger. 5 treasures, each stolen from a different corner of heaven's storerooms, each with a single terrible function built into it like a mechanism. A rope that binds whoever it touches. A fan that fans up fire from nothing. A sword with 7 points, each one a separate edge. A jade vase. And a red gourd, small enough to fit in one hand, that answers to a name. Call out to someone, and if they are foolish enough to answer, the gourd swallows them whole and seals them inside. Wukong learns this the hard way. Disguised as a wandering immortal, he lets his guard down for a moment too long. It takes only the length of time it takes the silver-horned king to speak his name aloud, conversationally, almost as an afterthought. Wukong answers without thinking. The gourd opens its mouth and pulls him in before he understands what has happened. Inside is total dark and a slow corrosive heat that would, given time, have melted him down to nothing. He escapes only because he is faster and stranger than the trap was built to expect, slipping out through a hairline crack before the seal closes fully. It is the only weapon in this whole story so far that has ever actually worked on him, however briefly, and he does not forget it. He decides the treasures have to be taken, one at a time, before anyone tries force. 2. He lifts clean away from the brothers' own servants, tricking them into handing over the red gourd and the jade vase through a swap so smooth neither servant realizes what has left their hands until it's gone. That leaves 3 treasures still in enemy hands, and it leaves Wukong holding the one object with real teeth in it. The final confrontation is not fought with the treasures at all. It is fought with a story. Wukong arrives disguised as Sun Pilgrim, a name he invents on the spot, claiming to be Sun Wukong's 3rd brother, come to avenge a grudge that never existed. The silver-horned king is suspicious enough to demand proof the red gourd Wukong now carries is the genuine article. He asks him to recite its origin, the private history only its true owner could know. Wukong has never heard that history. So he listens to the demon's own explanation and repeats it straight back, unchanged, as though it were his own knowledge all along. The silver-horned king hears his own account returned to him word for word. There is nothing in it to catch, because nothing in it differs from the truth he already believes. Convinced, the demon hands over his own name to the gourd's mouth, the same mistake Wukong made hours earlier, and the trap swallows its own master. Only then does Wukong fight in earnest, killing the silver-horned king with the gourd that once nearly killed him. He turns on the golden-horned king next, who breaks and runs rather than share his brother's fate. The remaining pilgrims come free. Laozi himself arrives afterward to collect what's left, his brazier tenders and his treasures both. He confirms what the shape of the whole encounter had already suggested. It was authorized, sanctioned from above, a test of exactly how far a monk's resolve could be pushed before it broke. Sanzang never knew he was being examined. He passed anyway, the way a person passes a test they don't know they're taking, simply by continuing to be who they already were. The next trial arrives while Sanzang is asleep. A man appears at the edge of his dream, soaked to the skin, water still running from his robes onto ground that stays dry beneath him. He says he was a king once. He has been dead for 3 years, and no one in his own kingdom knows it. He explains it plainly, the way a person explains something they have had a long time to understand. A wandering Taoist came to his court during a drought and ended it, seemingly out of nothing but goodwill. Grateful, the king took him as a sworn brother and gave him the run of the palace. The Taoist waited until they were alone beside a garden well, suggested the king look down to see his own reflection, and pushed him in. Then he sealed the well with a slab and a tree planted on top, and walked back into the palace wearing the king's face, because that was the only trick he'd actually needed all along. He has ruled in the king's place for 3 years since. No one in the court has noticed. Even the queen has not noticed. The dead man asks Slanting, since Wukong can go where he cannot, to make this right. Wukong listens to the account the next morning and believes it immediately, which is its own kind of problem because nobody else has any reason to. There is no wound to point to, no witness, no evidence beyond a monk's dream and a golden object the ghost pressed into his hand before vanishing. A truth with no proof behind it moves slowly, even when it happens to be entirely correct. Wukong's answer is to manufacture the proof himself. He somersaults to Tushita Palace and asks Laozi directly for the soul-restoring elixir of 9 reversions, the medicine that calls a body back from 3 years of stillness. Laozi gives him exactly 1 tablet, refusing to part with more no matter how Wukong presses him. There will be no second attempt if the first one fails. Wukong carries it back to the well and has the slab and tree cleared away. He finds the king's body inside, preserved past any reasonable expectation, but still a body and nothing more. He places the tablet in the king's mouth. Nothing happens. He has Bajie breathe air into the king's lungs directly, mouth against mouth, and in dignity Bajie complains about the entire time he is performing it. It works. The king's chest moves on its own. His eyes open. He sits up in a well he has occupied for 3 years. In a voice that hasn't spoken in all that time, he asks what has become of his kingdom. Getting a living, breathing corpse into the throne room is its own trial. No court believes a monk's account of a murder without a body. They believe it even less with a body that walks in and claims to be the king already sitting on the throne. The trap depends on Wukong himself being taken briefly out of the fight. Only the real Slanting can recite the spell that tightens the golden band. Triggered in full view of the court, it proves Wukong is exactly what he claims to be, obedient to the true monk and no one else. He goes to his knees in apparent agony. It buys Bajie and Sha Wujing the seconds they need to seize the false king while every eye in the room is fixed on the wrong spectacle. Before Wukong can finish what the moment seems to demand, a bodhisattva descends and stops him. Manjushri identifies the impostor as his own attendant, an azure lion sent from the mountain to occupy the throne for exactly 3 years, no more and no less. It is punishment, not chaos. The real king, before his reign, had once unknowingly imprisoned and tortured a wandering monk for 3 days without recognizing who he was tormenting. That monk was Manjushri himself, traveling in disguise. 3 years underwater was the price set for 3 days of unrecognized cruelty. The sentence was always going to end exactly when it did, ghost or no ghost, monk or no monk. It reframes everything the pilgrims believed they had accomplished. The lion ruled competently for 3 years, kept its hands off the king's wives, governed no worse and often better than the man it replaced. What looked like a murder to solve and a villain to punish turns out to have been a debt someone with more authority had already collected, working on a schedule none of them could see. The king is restored. The lion returns to Manjushri's mountain, its sentence served. A man can do a wrong so small he never even notices doing it and still spend 3 years at the bottom of a well paying for it. Cart-slow kingdom could be avoided. There is a road around it, a longer route that would spare the pilgrims whatever trouble waits inside its walls. Sanzang refuses to take it. His travel document requires a seal from every kingdom he passes through, stamped in order, and he will not skip one simply because it might be easier. What they find inside is not a monster terrorizing a village. It's a government. 20 years earlier, during a drought, 3 Taoist priests promised rain and delivered it, while the kingdom's Buddhist monks tried and failed to do the same. The king never forgave the failure. Monasteries were torn down. Sacred images were smashed. Travel permits for monks were revoked outright. 500 men who had spent their lives in religious service were reduced to forced labor, hauling carts and stone under men who now controlled the throne's favor. It has stood that way for 2 decades, an entire religion criminalized by administrative decree. Wukong does not walk in swinging a staff. He walks in and disrupts a ceremony. The priests, when the pilgrims arrive, are staging another rain-making demonstration for the king. Wukong intercepts the weather gods mid-summons, redirecting the storm to fall exactly where and when he decides it should, not where the priests have ordered it. The rain comes. It simply doesn't come from them. The priests escalate to a test of stillness and inner sight, a meditation contest meant to prove spiritual attainment the crowd can't otherwise verify. Wukong wins this one by becoming small. Shrunk down to the size of a gnat, invisible in the folds of Sanzang's robe, he crosses the room and crawls directly up the nose of the tiger-strength immortal. The man collapses mid-trance, sneezing and disoriented, undone by an insect no one in the hall ever saw. Losing twice would embarrass most men into retreat. It only sharpens these 3. Each defeat becomes an argument that the contest itself was unfair, never that their claim to power was false. The king, eager to believe his old favorites rather than admit 20 years of persecution rested on nothing, keeps granting them another round. The priests escalate the only way left open to them, past tricks of concentration into trials of the body, the kind no ordinary man survives by cleverness alone. They are named plainly, because softening them would be its own kind of dishonesty. Beheading, and waiting to see whose head grows back. Having the heart torn living from the chest and waiting to see who keeps breathing. Boiling in a cauldron of oil and waiting to see who climbs out. Wukong survives each one, using the same shape-changing that has carried him through every other impossible room in this story, turning each ordeal back on the men who devised it. They do not survive. And only in dying do their true shapes come loose from the human faces they'd worn for 20 years. The tiger strength immortal is a tiger. The deer strength immortal is a deer. The third, a ram, its horns finally visible once there's no more human disguise left to maintain. 500 monks walk free that day, men who had spent 20 years hauling stone for a court that stripped them of everything on one lost contest. Their monasteries can be rebuilt. What can't be returned is the 2 decades already spent. The labor, the years, the ordinary lives that simply happened somewhere else while this went unresolved. The king's decree is reversed as easily as it was written, a single signature undoing what a single signature created. Nobody in the throne room notices how strange that ease actually is, or asks how the original decree was ever made in the first place. Chapter 9. What strength can't settle? The kingdom of women asks nothing of Wukong at all, and that alone makes it different from everything that came before it. The trouble starts with thirst. Crossing into the womanland of Western Liang, Sanzang and Baye stop at a river to refill their water, drink deeply, and think nothing more of it. Within days, both men feel a heaviness low in the body. Neither has any name for, a cramping that has no obvious cause and won't pass. An old woman at a roadside stall finally tells them what the water was. This is the mother and child river, the only means by which the kingdom's entirely female population continues itself. Any man who drinks from it becomes pregnant by that act alone. There is a cure. It sits in a spring called Miscarriage Spring, inside a cave called the Child Free, guarded by an immortal with no particular reason to help 2 strangers passing through. Getting there and getting the water is Wukong's job. It is exactly that, a job, logistics, rather than a trial in its own right. He negotiates, threatens, and eventually fights his way to the spring and back. He delivers the cure to 2 men doubled over with a condition strength alone could never have solved for them. It is the least dramatic thing he does in this chapter, resolved with the same competence he'd apply to fetching camp water, because that's essentially what it is. The real trial is already waiting in the capital, and it has nothing to do with pregnancy. The Queen of Western Liang meets the party at the border herself and sees Tang Sanzang. Within the length of that first meeting, she decides she wants him for her husband and her king. This is not performance. She has ruled alone in a kingdom without men, aware that her line needs an heir. For the first time in her reign, she would prefer not to rule alone. She offers him the throne outright, half of everything the kingdom holds, a partnership rather than a captivity. There is no threat behind any of it. She would let him refuse and leave unharmed, and she says so plainly. He is, by any ordinary measure the kingdom has ever seen, exactly what a queen in her position should want. Educated, composed, striking enough that women in the streets stop what they're doing simply to look at him as the party passes through. She is not confused about what she is asking for. She has thought it through with the same seriousness she'd bring to any decision that determines her kingdom's next 50 years. What she is offering him is real: rank, comfort, a wife who has chosen him with her eyes open, and a road he could simply stop walking. Wukong suggests, half in jest and half not, that Slanting accept the proposal as cover. Marry the queen in appearance only, secure travel documents and provisions for the rest of the journey west, then slip away once safely past the border. It's a practical solution, the kind Wukong is built to produce, treating the queen's sincerity as a resource to manage rather than a question that needs answering. For once, his cleverness isn't what the moment requires. Slanting says no, and says it to her directly, without theatre and without needing anyone else's cunning to get him out of the room. He explains that he took a vow before he ever left his own emperor's court. It binds him past comfort, past rank, past whatever affection he might privately feel for a woman offering him a life instead of a road. He is not unmoved by her. The refusal costs him something to say, and the text does not pretend otherwise. But he says it anyway, plainly, because a vow that only holds when nothing tempting is offered was never actually a vow. Nothing about this scene resolves through strength. Wukong's power sits entirely outside it, useful only for retrieving water from a spring, absent from the one decision that actually matters here. Baji has appetite enough for 3 men, and none of it changes the outcome. Sha Wujing has patience, and neither does that. Only Slanting's own discipline determines what happens next. A decision made once, by one person, with no magic behind it and no fight to win. It is the clearest place yet in the pilgrimage, where the man carrying the scriptures, not the monkey guarding him, stands between the mission and its end. The queen lets them go. She keeps her kingdom, her sincerity intact, her offer never having needed force to make its case. The party continues west, with the road ahead of them exactly as long as it was before. Chapter 10. Lady Whitebone. 4 trials sit behind them now: the demons, the dead king, the false priests, the queen who meant every word. None of it was ever settled by how hard anyone could hit it. On a mountain called Baihu Ling, a spirit who answers to no one in heaven watches the pilgrims pass below and decides on a different method. She has lived alone on this slope for longer than the pilgrims have been walking. In that time, she has learned what every solitary predator eventually learns. Force invites resistance. Hunger invites suspicion. Need invites help. She does not test their strength. She tests their decency because she has watched them long enough to know which one of the 4 has more of it than sense. A girl comes down the mountain path carrying a covered basket, offering the travelers rice and vegetables meant for temple offering. She says she was on her way to bring the food to her parents in the fields. Tang Slanting is moved before she finishes speaking. Wukong is not. He looks at her once. His eyes have not seen a living face clearly since a furnace on the other side of the world turned them permanently red. What he sees underneath the girl's skin is not a girl. He kills her where she stands. The body that falls is a pile of white bone, and for one clean moment the whole trick is visible for what it is. Then the spirit's true form escapes upward and out of reach, and what she leaves behind is not bone anymore. It is a girl again, young, dead, a wound where Wukong's staff struck her. Tang Sanzang recites the tightening spell before Wukong can explain anything, and the headband does its work, and pain drops him to his knees in the road. He tells his master what his eyes actually showed him. Bajie says nothing to contradict it, only watches, and says nothing to support it either. Sanzang releases the spell before it kills him, and orders him never to kill again without cause. The party moves on, one girl's body left behind them on the mountain path for someone else to find and grieve. They have not gone far when an old woman comes toward them up the same path, calling out for her daughter. She says the girl went down the mountain that morning with food for the fields and never returned. Sanzang's face changes. He has just watched this exact daughter die, and he does not yet know what he watched. Wukong's ruined eyes see her the way they saw the first one. Whatever walks toward them wearing an old woman's grief is not an old woman, and he brings his staff down before she reaches them. The body left in the road this time is old and grey-haired and broken at the skull. To anyone standing there without his sight, there is only one way to read this killing. A monk has murdered a mother in the street where her daughter was murdered too. Sanzang recites the spell again, longer this time, and does not stop until Wukong is weeping and the pain has driven him flat into the dirt. Bajie is already talking before the chanting ends. A creature capable of transformation, he says, is equally capable of lying about what he saw. Sanzang, gullible by his own nature and now grieving two strangers he never met, does not argue with him. He only looks at Wukong on the ground and says nothing, which is its own kind of verdict. The third figure to come up the mountain path is an old man, and he is looking for his wife and his daughter both. Wukong's eyes find the same lie underneath his face that they found in the other two. He does not wait for the old man to finish speaking. He is already secretly called on the local mountain gods to seal every direction the spirit might flee. She is boxed into the one shape she cannot escape a third time. When his staff falls now, there is no substitute corpse waiting to take her place. The body in the road turns to bone in front of everyone, an ordinary skeleton with two words carved along the spine, a name. Lady Whitebone. For the first time since the girl on the path this morning, what Wukong killed and what is left behind finally agree with each other. It changes nothing. Tang Sanzang has already watched this family die twice in front of him, at Wukong's hand. A skeleton lying in the road 3 miles later does not undo what a father's body looked like when it fell. He does not ask what the bones mean. He has already decided what the deaths meant. Bajie has been waiting for this. He tells Sanzang plainly that Wukong made the bones look that way. A creature who can become anything, he says, can become evidence too. He has said some version of this after each of the first 2 killings and been ignored. This time, Sanzang listens. He begins the tightening spell before Wukong has said a single word in his own defense. Wukong drops to the ground, both hands going to the band at his skull. Even through the pain, he is not fighting the chant. He is only trying to be heard over it. He asks his master to stop long enough to let him speak. He is not refusing the punishment. He is asking for it to come after the explanation instead of before. Sanzang does not stop. He lets the spell run its full course. Only when it ends does he look down at his disciple, still on his knees, still breathing hard, and speak. "Baboon," he says, "I have nothing more to say to you." He adds an old proverb. Virtue grows unseen, the way a garden grows. Wrongdoing wears itself down unseen too, the way a whetstone does. Neither is visible while it happens. Both are plain enough once you look back at the distance covered. It is not delivered as anger. It is delivered as a man closing a door he believes he has thought carefully about. He has been thinking about it for less time than it took the spell to finish. Wukong does not argue with the verdict and does not ask for it to be reconsidered. He gets to his feet, turns a slow, formal bow toward the master he has just been cast off by, and somersaults away into the sky. He is crying before he clears the tree line. He does not come back to plead his case a second time. Whatever he believes about his own innocence, he has decided it is no longer his to argue. Flower Fruit Mountain is where he goes, because it is the only place left that is his. He crosses the sea the way he always has, in a single leap, and comes down expecting the home he left behind. What he finds instead is quiet in a way the mountain has never been. The old scars are still there, ground still churned from Erlang's assault 500 years earlier, a wound that outlasted its own cause. But the newer damage is smaller and more recent, and somehow harder to look at. Trees felled for lumber. Snares strung along paths where his monkeys used to play. Human hunters have been working the mountain for who knows how long. They moved in the moment word spread that its king was gone and had not come back, taking what an unguarded place always eventually loses. The court he built here, the kingdom that made him crown himself before he had proven anything to anyone, has been picked over like carrion. He walks through it alone, and there is no one left to tell him what happened, because there is no one left. He does not go looking for the hunters. He does not have to. He works a spell of sand and stone, calling wind and grit into a single unbroken storm. He sets it loose across the camps where the men have made their base. It does not stop when the first of them fall. It does not stop at the 10th or the 100th. By the time the wind settles, more than 1,000 men are dead on the mountain that raised him. There was no fight in any ordinary sense. No swords crossed. No moment where the outcome was in doubt. There is only a monkey standing over ground gone red, having done to 1,000 strangers roughly what strangers did to his home in his absence. The scale is nothing the original offense would have predicted. He does not weigh the two things against each other. Grief and retaliation have arrived in him as the same motion, indistinguishable from the inside, and he does not stay to examine the difference. He does not know and has no way of knowing. On the road behind him, His master has just walked into the one kind of trouble Wukong's presence used to make impossible. Tang Sanzang is alone now, in a way he has not been since the journey began. He sees a golden pagoda gleaming through the trees and is drawn toward it, the way he is drawn toward anything that looks like faith made visible. It is not faith. It is the home of the yellow robe demon, and by the time Sanzang understands what he has walked into, he is already taken. Back at the camp, Shah Wujing goes looking for Baji to change the watch. He finds him asleep instead, exactly where their master should have been guarded and was not. He wakes him without gentleness. The two of them return together to a fire burning low and a master who is no longer there to warm himself by it. There is one member of the company who has never spoken a word since the day he joined it. The white dragon horse has carried Tang Sanzang the entire distance without complaint, without incident, without anyone thinking of him as more than transportation. Tonight, with the master captured, Wukong gone, and Bajie already talking about scattering to save himself, the horse decides transportation is not going to be enough. He bites through his own reins in the dark and sheds the saddle Sanzang has ridden him under for months. What steps out from underneath it is no longer entirely a horse. He takes the shape of a palace maid and slips into the demon's stronghold during a banquet. He pours wine well enough to hold the room's attention, waiting for an opening to strike. When it comes, he draws a blade and goes for the yellow-robed demon directly. He is discovered before the strike lands, wounded and driven back out into the night soaked and bleeding from the leg. He finds Bajie already packing to leave. What happens next has never happened before in the whole of this journey. The horse catches Bajie's robe in his teeth and speaks, calling him brother. Abandoning the mission now is not a plan, he tells him plainly. It is surrender with extra steps. There is exactly one creature left who can undo what has been done here. Bajie already knows exactly who that is, and exactly where to find him. Bajie goes, not gladly, and finds Wukong back on his throne, settled into his kingdom as if the pilgrimage had never happened and never would again. He is in no hurry. He asks after his master with something that sounds almost like formality. The distance of someone who has decided the subject no longer concerns him. Bajie tries duty first, and it does not move him. He tries describing Sanzang's danger plainly, and that does not move him either. What moves him is a lie. Bajie tells him the yellow-robed demon has been mocking him by name, calling him a coward too frightened of a second expulsion to come back and fight. It is not true. It works anyway. The same pride that put a crown on his head 500 years before any of this began puts him back in the sky within moments. He is headed for a fight he was refusing to take 5 minutes earlier, for reasons that no longer matter to him at all. He is not returning for his master. He is returning because someone, somewhere, said his name and doubted him. And that has never once been a thing Sun Wukong could leave alone. Chapter 11. The Boy Who Never Lost. He finds the boy waiting in the open. No ambush, no trick, just a child standing in the road. Red Boy is the son of the Bull Demon King and small enough to look harmless. He has never once needed to look otherwise to win a fight. Wukong does not ask his name. He already has it. He attacks first, the way he always does. The way that put a crown on his head 500 years before any of this began. The boy opens his mouth and breathes fire. Not ordinary fire. Samadhi fire, trained through meditation until it burns without fuel and without limit, a discipline the boy has practiced since before he could walk. It comes out of him in a column that fills the sky. Wukong has stood inside the sun's own furnace and walked out unmarked. This is different. It burns clean through whatever it touches. He calls the 4 dragon kings down from the 4 seas, and they answer, and their combined rain falls into the fire and simply stops existing before it reaches the ground. Nothing douses this. Nothing was built to. Wukong goes down fighting and does not get back up. He is burned, beaten, while he can no longer defend himself, and finally unconscious, sprawled in the dirt at the base of the mountain. Bajie finds him first and does what Bajie does with fear, which is make a joke of it. He says a creature with 72 transformations must have 72 lives, so there's no real cause for worry. Sha Wujing kneels down and checks the body properly. He does not laugh. He says flatly that the whole of it has gone cold. No one who loves Wukong is in the room to hear that. He recovers because the story needs him to, and because nothing has ever managed to end him permanently, but recovery does not change what just happened. He was beaten, comprehensively, without qualification, by a child. Every weapon in his arsenal, direct force, transformation, the staff that has ended gods, produced nothing here but more burns. For a fighter whose entire identity rests on there being no opponent he cannot eventually out-hit, this is not a setback. It is a wall. So he stops swinging and goes to get Guan Yin. She does not fight the boy. She barely engages him at all, in the sense Wukong would recognize as engagement. What she does instead is wait and let the thing that makes Red Boy dangerous be the same thing that undoes him. He is proud and fast and used to winning, and when Wukong lures him back to her mountain at Potalaka, the boy follows without hesitation, confident he is walking into another fight he'll win. He isn't. He sees what looks like Guan Yin's own lotus throne sitting empty, and he sits on it, the way a child sits on something that looks like it belongs to someone more important than him, because he can. The throne is not a throne. It is a construction of borrowed blades shaped to look like one, and the instant he settles onto it, it seals around him and locks his own body in place. He cannot rise. He cannot even fully turn his head. Guan Yin produces a single golden fillet, no different in principle from the one already fixed to Wukong's own skull, and waves it once. It becomes 5. They fly to him and close around his head and each of his 4 limbs simultaneously, and whatever fight was still in him ends there, pinned and ringed in gold, unable to move even the part of himself that might have kept resisting. He submits because there is no longer a version of this where he doesn't. Guan Yin does not kill him and does not send him home. She keeps him, remaking him as her own disciple under a new name, Sudana, the child who seeks the way. It is not a name invented for this story. It belongs to an older one, a boy in a different scripture who spent his whole life studying under teacher after teacher in search of enlightenment, and Red Boy is folded into that lineage now, whether he asked for it or not. He was beaten by patience, not by force. The one method Wukong himself has never once reached for first. The trap sprung because he trusted his own aggression to carry him through. The same instinct that has carried him through everything else in his short, violent life. And this time it carried him directly into the one seat in the cosmos, built specifically to hold him still. No one who raised him is present to see it happen. His father is elsewhere. His mother is elsewhere. A boy who has never in his life needed anyone's help to win becomes, in the space of one afternoon, someone else's disciple, and walks out of the story that made him under a name he did not choose. Chapter 12. The debt left standing. The two bandit chiefs die first, and there is nothing complicated about it. They corner the pilgrims on the road demanding gold, and Wukong meets them as a small boy, letting their blows land on the top of his skull, where nothing in this world can hurt him. He kills them both with his staff before either one understands what he is. This is a fight he has had before, in one shape or another, since the day he first put on the robe. Night is when it changes. Among the survivors who scatter into the hills is the son of the elderly couple who took the pilgrims in and fed them, and by dark the son has gathered 30 men and led them back to the house that sheltered his enemies. Old Yang hears them coming and wakes the travelers himself, sending them out the back before the raiders arrive. It is not enough. The bandits catch the party at dawn, and the fight that follows is short and total. Most of the 30 die where they stand or run and are cut down running. When it is over, Wukong does not sheath the staff. The fighting has already stopped. Nothing on that field still threatens the pilgrims, and he knows it as well as anyone standing there. He walks the wounded anyway, stepping past men who are dying on their own without his help until he finds one still breathing enough to answer a question. Which one is old Yang's son? The man tells him, because a staff is standing over him and there is no reason left to protect anyone. Wukong crosses to where the son lies, separates his head from his body, and carries it back to the camp himself, holding it by the hair the way a man might carry a lantern, and lays it down in front of Tang Sanzang like a report finished and filed. Tang Sanzang does not see justice in it. He sees the head. He staggers back before he has even finished mounting the horse, and what comes out of him is not the sermon on compassion he has given before, not this time. It is fear, plain and physical. The fear of a man who has just understood exactly what is traveling beside him and exactly how little say he has over it. He calls Wukong a wretched ape. He tells him to take the thing away, out of his sight, off the road, anywhere he does not have to look at it. Then he says the words that tighten the band, and for the second time since the mountain, he sends him from the road. There is a difference worth naming, even though nobody on the road stops to name it. The two chiefs die in a fight that came looking for the pilgrims first. The son dies afterward. Once the danger has already broken and scattered, found on purpose and killed on purpose, for a reason that has nothing to do with anyone's safety and everything to do with what was owed. Wukong does not call it mercy. He does not call it anything. He simply finishes it and hands over the proof. The spell does what it always does. Tang Sanzang recites it through tears of his own fright, and the band closes, and Wukong goes down onto the ground clutching his skull, and the pain is exactly as real this time as every other time before it. When it lifts, there is no argument left to have. He gets up and he leaves the road a second time, and this expulsion has none of the misunderstanding that shaded the first one. He did what the mission's own morality cannot forgive, and he did it with his eyes open. Before any of it happened, a companion had offered to solve the problem for old Yang directly. Hunt down the wayward son, kill him quietly, and be done with the shame he brought on the household. Yang refused. He knew exactly what his son was. He said so plainly, in words that did not soften the boy or excuse him. And still he would not have it done. Evil as he is, Yang said, I have no other son. I will need him to bury me. That is the whole of what the story gives him to say, and it is enough. It is not forgiveness. It is arithmetic of a kind older than the argument itself, a father counting what he has left, and finding the number does not change, no matter how badly the son has spent it. Yang kept him alive, not because he believed the boy would improve, but because a man without sons has no one to close his eyes when he dies and no one to carry him to the ground afterward. That accounting held right up until Wukong walked onto the field the next morning and asked a wounded man a single question. Nothing forces what happens after into silence. It would have cost the story almost nothing to return for one more sentence, the old man standing over what is left of his only son, his wife's face when the body does not come home, one of the pilgrims looking back long enough to say they were sorry for what their protection cost. None of it happens. The narrative simply moves on, the way the road itself moves on, past a house that sheltered strangers at real risk and got nothing back for it, but a debt nobody stayed long enough to acknowledge. Wukong does not go back to the road. He goes to Mount Potalaka, to Guanyan's own paradise, and stands before her without a staff raised or a grievance to argue. He is not asking to be reinstated. He is asking her to end it. Release him from the mission, release him from the robe and the fillet and the name of monk entirely, and let him go back to what he was before any of this began. He does not dress it up. He tells her plainly that he wants out, not out of this one road, but out of the whole arrangement, back to the mountain and the life that was his before heaven ever noticed him. It is the first time in the entire pilgrimage that he is asked to stop rather than to be believed. Guanyin refuses. She does not explain herself at length and offers nothing further beyond her reasoning. She simply tells him no, that he will be needed again, and that the road is not his to leave. Wukong receives the answer and says nothing further. There is no scene of him arguing the point or pressing his case a second time. He came with one request, was denied it, and the moment closes there, the same silence the old couple's grief closed on a few miles back down the road. Chapter 13. Two faces, one name. While Wukong is asking to be let go, something wearing his exact face is already at work on the road he just left. Tang Sanzang is alone and unguarded when it finds him. It strikes him down, takes the travel rescript, the folded document that stands for the whole mission's authority to continue, and disappears with it before anyone can raise an alarm. By the time Sha Wujing arrives to see what has happened, the double has already built a camp of its own making. Illusory copies of Tang Sanzang, of Baji, of Sha Wujing himself, and of the white horse stand where the real ones should be, indistinguishable at a glance. Sha Wujing, faced with what looks like his own reflection, draws his weapon and kills it, only to find he has killed a decoy and left the true threat untouched. The double drives him off the field. What follows afterward is not described with any ceremony. The double's own subjects, a company of lesser monkeys loyal to him alone, skin the fallen decoy, cook it, and serve it that night at a celebration with wine poured out beside it. It is the same appetite Wukong himself admitted to once, back before the mountain, before the fillet, before any of this began. He told Tang Sanzang plainly, early in the journey, that he had eaten men in those years. The double has not invented a new cruelty. He has simply gone back to an old one Wukong left behind and never spoke of again. When the two finally stand in the same place and each accuses the other of being the fraud, there is nothing in either one to settle it. Same voice, same staff, same scars from centuries under the mountain. No one present, not Bajie, not Sha Wujing, not Tang Sanzang himself, can say with any confidence which one just spoke. What the double wants is not to end the pilgrimage. It is to finish it himself, alone, and take the credit whole. He says so plainly, studying the stolen rescript in his own hand, that he means to go west by himself and ask the Buddha for the scriptures, so that his fame will last for all posterity. Even his weapon carries the joke of it. He fights with an iron staff of his own, one that bends to whatever he wills the same way Wukong's does, but its name translates to something closer to acquiescent, a rod built to agree with him, where Wukong's has always been called simply as you wish. Two staffs, one philosophy, worn by two bodies no one can tell apart. It has heard, somewhere in Wukong's own memory or its own, everything Wukong has ever wanted at his most resentful. Freedom from the fillet. Freedom from the monk who casts him out. Glory earned without anyone else's name attached to it. And it has simply gone and taken all three. Guanyin denied Wukong exactly this request an hour before. The double did not ask. Guanyin tries first, and her method is the most direct one available to her. She has her disciple Moxa take hold of one Wukong, and the boy Sudana take hold of the other, and while both stand pinned, she recites the tightening spell silently, under her breath, where neither one can prepare for it. Her reasoning is sound on its own terms. Only the real fillet will cause real pain, so the true Wukong is whichever one screams. Both scream at once. Both drop to their knees and beg her in the same voice to stop, using the same words, wearing the same face twisted the same way. The test fails completely, and it fails at the one level, the physical, where she expected the answer to be beyond argument. Heaven tries next, with a tool that has beaten Wukong before. The Jade Emperor sends for the same mirror that once saw through his 72 transformations in his old battle against Erlang Shen, back when Wukong turned himself into a sparrow, a fish, a temple, and was found out every time. Devaraja Li Jing holds it up to both figures in turn. The reflection shows nothing. Not the smallest difference in the golden fillet, not in the robe, not in a single strand of hair. The mirror was built to see past a disguise, to find the true shape hiding underneath a borrowed one. There is no disguise here for it to see past. Two bodies, genuinely and completely identical, defeat a tool designed for exactly one kind of lie, and this is not that kind of lie. The underworld tries last of the three and fails differently again. Its judges search the book of life and death for the impostor's entry and find nothing to search against, because Wukong himself struck every line under the word monkey from those same ledgers years before, back when he first refused to die on anyone's schedule but his own. The record that should settle the question was erased before the question was ever asked, and the hand that erased it belongs to the very being standing in front of the judges now. One being does get it right. Ksitigaba's own creature, a beast that knows truth by lying flat against the ground and listening, does exactly that and hears the answer clearly. It does not speak it aloud. To name what it has found, it judges, would be more dangerous than leaving the question open. A power too large to release into a room that cannot yet contain it. The only correct answer given anywhere in this chain is the one nobody is willing to say. At Spirit Mountain, the Buddha does not look harder than anyone else has looked. He simply knows something no one else in the entire dispute has thought to ask. He opens not with an inspection, but with a sermon, observing to the whole that all beings are of one mind, and yet here, in front of him, stand two minds locked in exactly the competition and strife that a single mind should never be capable of turning against itself. It is an odd place to begin an identification. It is also, once he continues, exactly the point. Then he tells them what they are actually looking at. Beyond the 10 ordinary categories the cosmos sorts its creatures into, he says, there exist 4 spiritual primates that fit none of them, unlisted anywhere heaven or the underworld would think to look. The stone monkey of numinous wisdom, which is Wukong himself. The red buttocked horse monkey. The connected arms gibbon. And the 6-eared macaque, a being capable of knowing anything said or done within 1,000 li of wherever he chooses to stand still and listen. As I see the matter, the Buddha says, that specious Wukong must be a 6-eared macaque. Not a guess. Not a sharper reading of the same evidence heaven and the underworld already had in front of them and already failed to use. A category the rest of the universe's bureaucracy did not know existed, named by the one being who had it filed away all along, unbothered by mirrors or ledgers, because he never needed either. The macaque understands what naming him has done before anyone else in the hall does. He turns into a bee and bolts for the open sky. The Buddha throws his golden alms bowl into the air after him, and it falls, and it catches him mid-flight the way a hand closes over something already gone still. When the bowl is lifted, the true shape is underneath it, the disguise stripped away along with any argument left to make. It is Wukong who kills him. Not the Buddha, who has already done the only thing that was his alone to do, the seeing. The bowl has done the catching. What is left is the killing itself, and that belongs to no one else. Wukong raises the staff and brings it down, and whatever it is that dies under that blow, he is the one who ends it with his own hand. Every other outcome today was decided for him by a spell he didn't cast, a mirror he didn't own, a ledger he'd already emptied years before anyone thought to check it. This last part is entirely his. What exactly he killed, the story never quite closes the door on. It could have been a being entirely separate from him, another spiritual primate as real and as singular as he is. It could have been a version of his own divided mind, given shape and set loose to want everything he was just refused. Somewhere on the road behind them both is a father who kept a wayward son alive because a man needs someone to bury him, and a monkey who asked to be released and was told no. The story does not say which of those the staff came down on. It only says that Wukong is the one holding it, standing over a shape that was, until a moment ago, wearing his own face. The reunion afterward is not a scene between the two of them, Wukong and Sanzang. It is an instruction Guanyin gives to one man, spoken once. "Take him back," she tells Tang Sanzang. "Stop being angry." Tang Sanzang kowtows where he stands and says he will. He does not turn to Wukong and say he was wrong to send him away, not the first time and not this second, harder time. He does not ask what happened at Spirit Mountain, or what it cost to prove which one of the two monkeys standing in front of him was real. There is no scene of the two of them working it through, no private word exchanged once the crowd has thinned. What the story records instead is only this, stated once and moved past. The company's animosity and anger dissolved, and they went on united in mind and effort, the four of them and the horse, west, as though the question of which one of them had almost been replaced by something wearing his face had already been settled somewhere off the page. It is a real change, and a narrow one. The group is no longer divided. That much the story states plainly. What it does not state is any private reckoning on Tang Sanzang's part, any moment where he weighs what he did against what it nearly cost him. The unity is functional. It is not confessed. The spell that has closed around Wukong's skull twice now, once for the 6 robbers, once for a debt he chose to collect with a blade, is never recited again for the rest of the road. It stays fitted to him, unremoved, unmentioned. Nobody unbinds it, and nobody apologizes for it. It simply stops being needed. Chapter 14. The brother he lost twice. The mountain ahead is on fire. Not smoking, not scorched. Burning, the whole face of it, flames standing in the rock the way water stands in a riverbed, and it has stood that way for years. No road runs around it. No road runs through it. Tang Sanzang's company stops at its base and looks up at something none of them can walk past and none of them can put out. Only one thing in the world can put it out, and it belongs to a woman Wukong has never met, married to a man he has not spoken to in 9 years. He goes to find him first. Courtesy, or the shape courtesy used to take. Before there was a mountain to cross, before there was a monk to guard, before there was a headband or a name written on a register, there were 7 of them, drinking wine at Flower Fruit Mountain, dividing titles between themselves like brothers dividing an inheritance nobody else had offered them. Wukong was the smallest and the youngest of the seven. It was the Bull Demon King who took the senior place, and Wukong who has called him elder brother ever since, in the handful of years before heaven, before the 500 years, before any of it. He finds him now grown larger, richer, settled into a life built entirely outside heaven's notice, and for a moment neither of them mentions the years between. There is a chair. There is wine. There is the particular ease of two men who once meant the words they said to each other, finding that the ease is still there to be picked back up, unstrained by the distance. The Bull Demon King asks after him. Wukong asks after him in return. For a few sentences, it is 9 years ago again, before either of them had anything to forgive. Then Wukong says the boy's name. The warmth leaves the room before he finishes the sentence. He tells his old brother plainly where Red Boy is now, alive, safe, remade as a bodhisattva's disciple under a name that isn't the one he was given at birth. He means it as good news. It is the same argument he tried on the boy's mother once, though he does not seem to remember trying it or notice that it landed no better the second time. The Bull Demon King's face does not soften the way Wukong expects. He has spent 9 years believing his son gone, not knowing whether gone meant dead or worse, and the not knowing has had 9 years to harden into something with no give left in it. What Wukong is offering him is closure dressed as celebration, and he does not want either one from the monkey who arranged it. He does not ask how Wukong found the boy, or whether the boy is happy, or anything a brother catching up on 9 lost years might ask. He only says once that Wukong should not have come here. Wukong sits with that for a moment before he answers, and it is not a fight yet. It is something quieter and worse. An old friend watching a door he thought was still open close in front of him, for a reason he handed the other man himself. He does not apologize, because in his own accounting there is nothing to apologize for. The boy is safer now than he has ever been. But he understands, sitting in that chair, that understanding and forgiveness are not the same transaction, and that he has just spent the second without buying any of the first. The fight that follows is short and one-sided, and it settles nothing. The Bull Demon King drives him off the mountain, and Wukong, still hoping courtesy might work where combat hasn't, goes to the one person left who can lend him the fan without a fight. Her name is Princess Iron Fan. She is the Bull Demon King's wife and Red Boy's mother. She already knows who he is before he introduces himself. She has known, in fact, for longer than he has been standing at her door, and what she knows is this. Wukong is the one who arranged for her son to be taken. Not killed. Taken, which in some ways is worse, because it means she cannot even finish grieving him. He is still alive, somewhere on a mountain that isn't hers, serving a goddess under a name that isn't the one she gave him. She cannot visit him. She cannot bring him home, and the man responsible is now standing in front of her asking for a favor. Wukong tries the only argument he has. He calls it an opportunity. A boy who might have grown into nothing more than a demon in a cave has instead been given a place at Guanyin's side, a purpose, a kind of permanence no ordinary life could have offered him. It is, by any measure he can think to use, a good outcome. It is the wrong thing to say to her, and he seems not to know it until the words are already out. A mother does not measure her son's disappearance by what he gained from it. She measures it by the fact that he is gone and that the person who took him is describing it to her as a gift. She doesn't argue. She reaches for the fan. It is small in her hand, no larger than an apricot leaf, kept in her mouth when she isn't using it, and there is a proper word to unfold it into what it actually is. She says the word. The fan grows to its full size, and she swings it once, and the wind that comes off it does not stop at the door of her cave, or the base of the mountain, or even the boundary of the region. It carries Wukong, 84,000 li, further than any weapon in the story has thrown him before, or will throw him again. He lands somewhere he does not recognize, on a mountain he has never climbed, and for a while he does not get up. There is no fight left in the moment to distract him from what just happened. He came to two people he once called family and left both encounters having made things worse than he found them. A brother who won't look at him, a mother who answered his gift with a wind meant to be rid of him. He has spent this entire pilgrimage being cast out by people who came to trust him and found reasons not to. This is different. This time nobody had to learn anything new about him first. They already knew him from before any of it, and it cost him nothing to lose them anyway. He gets up eventually, because getting up is the only thing he has ever known how to do after a fall, and makes his way back toward the mountain the same way he always does, on his own power. By the time he reaches Iron Fan's cave a second time, he has stopped trying honesty. Honesty has already failed him once tonight in two different doorways. What she gave him the first time she refused was a small fan and a large wind. What he asks for the second time disguised is not a favor. He has taken the shape of her own husband, the voice, the walk, the particular way the bull demon king has of entering a room like he already owns it. Iron Fan, who has spent this entire ordeal certain of exactly one thing in the world, lets her guard down for the one man she trusts completely. She hands him the fan herself, tells him in the same breath to be careful of the monkey who's been troubling them. He thanks her in her husband's voice and leaves before the moment can curdle into something she might later question. It is a small fan, and it is the wrong one. She has a larger fan for public use, a decoy she keeps on hand for exactly this kind of visitor, and Wukong is 3 miles gone before he realizes the one in his fist won't grow no matter what word he says to it. He has stolen a prop from the one household in the world that had every reason to see the trick coming. Chapter 15. 49 fans. He is still working out how he was fooled when a familiar face catches up to him on the road. Zuba Jie, or what looks like Zuba Jie, breathless and pleased to have found him, offering to carry the fan the rest of the way so Wukong can rest. It is, in fact, the Bull Demon King, returned the favor exactly as it was given to him, wearing a friend's face to ask for something Wukong would never have handed to an enemy. For a moment it nearly works. Then something in the manner is off. Some detail no impersonation quite gets right, and Wukong sees through it before the fan changes hands. The two men who deceived each other in the same afternoon, using each other's own people against each other, now have nothing left to disguise. What's left is a fight neither of them can end alone. It starts in the middle of the afternoon, and it does not stop when the sun goes down. Zhu Bajie arrives partway through, the real one this time, and a local mountain god with him, and even with 3 against 1, the fight only grows longer, instead of ending. Blow answers blow through the evening, and into full dark, weapons ringing against each other in a place with no audience left to see it. The sky finally starts to lighten again past 8 the next morning, and by then nobody has won anything. The Bull Demon King breaks off and runs, and Wukong and Baji go after him. He runs the only way left to him. He becomes a swan, and Wukong becomes a hawk to match it. He becomes something else, and Wukong becomes the thing that hunts that. 10 times over, maybe more, one shape answering another shape down through the animal kingdom, each change bought and spent in less than a breath, until there is nowhere smaller left to hide inside. So he stops hiding. He becomes what he actually is. A white bull, 10,000 feet from nose to tail, standing 8,000 feet at the shoulder, blotting out enough sky that the ground beneath him goes dark. Wukong grows to match him, 100,000 feet, and for a while it is simply 2 enormous bodies driving into each other across a landscape too small to hold either of them. It is still not enough to end it. What ends it is not Wukong alone. 4 guardians take the sky in 4 directions, sealing off every route he might run to next, and Li Jing and Nezha come in behind them with their own forces. Nezha reaches him first and takes the head off with a single stroke of his sword. The head grows back. He takes it off again. It grows back again. He takes it off a 3rd time and a 4th, and each time the wound closes and the bull is simply whole again, unbothered, as if the blade had never touched him at all. It is not the sword that finally does it. Nezha hangs a fire wheel on the bull's horns and lights it, and this fire does not behave like the flames he can shrug off or regrow past. It burns and keeps burning, and there is nowhere on a body that size to get away from it. At the same moment, Li Jing raises a mirror that shows a creature its own true shape and holds it there, past the reach of every trick that has kept him alive until now. Caught between the pain he cannot escape and the shape he can no longer change out of, the Bull Demon King finally calls out. "Spare his life," he says. He wishes to be converted to the faith. Nezha's answer comes before the bull has finished speaking. He wants the fan. The Bull Demon King tells him his wife has it, and lets himself be led away by a rope through the nose, bull-sized and beaten, back toward the cave he ran this whole fight to protect. At the entrance, he calls out to her by name, tells her to bring the fan, tells her it's the only thing left that can save his life. She comes out with the fan and hands it over without another word of resistance. Before Wukong leaves with it, she tells him how to use it properly. 49 fans, one after another, to put the fire out completely rather than simply beat it back for a day. It is more generosity than the moment requires of her, and she gives it anyway. Afterward, she goes home. She sets aside meat, takes up a plain diet, and returns to the kind of quiet religious practice she kept before any of this began. The text says she gave up her wrongdoing and turned back to what was right, and that in time, walking that path, she will reach her own perfection. Nobody escorts her anywhere. Nobody watches to see that she keeps her word. She simply goes back to her mountain and starts over, and is left there, still capable of becoming whatever she is going to become. The same woman who, a day earlier, threw a monkey 84,000 lie for the crime of taking her son from her. Her husband is not given the same ending. What happens to him is stated once in a single line at the moment of his capture. He is taken by the heavenly soldiers, bound for trial before the Jade Emperor. And there the account stops. No verdict follows him into the record. No sentence, no pardon, no rank assigned in the aftermath, nothing at all describing what waited for him once the soldiers had him in hand. He is led away out of the story exactly as they seem to have led him out of the mountain, and the story does not go with him to see what happens next. Wukong takes the fan back to the mountain and fans it 49 times until the fire that stood there for years finally goes out and stays out. The road that had no way through it now has one. He does not go back to say goodbye to either of them, and the story does not suggest he considered it. Somewhere behind him a woman is setting aside meat and starting over. Somewhere else, in a hall he will never see, a man who once called him younger brother in a way that meant something is waiting on a judgment nobody will ever describe to him. Ahead of the company lies whatever ground the flames had been covering all this time, and the road, as it has every time before, simply continues. Chapter 16. The Long Middle. The company walks on. There are other mountains after that one. Other rivers, other gates, other kingdoms whose names none of them will remember by the time they reach the next. Snow comes and buries the road, and they wait it out in whatever shelter the land offers, and when it melts they walk again. Heat comes after that, the kind that cracks the ground and empties the wells, and they walk through that too. The horse's coat changes with the seasons without anyone deciding it should. Baji still complains. It's just quieter now, folded into the walking instead of stopping it. Sha Wujing still carries what he carries, the same weight on the same shoulders, and sets it down at the same hour every evening without being told. Sanzang still stops to bow at temples that may or may not deserve it. Wukong still scouts ahead and comes back with the same report more often than not. Nothing here. What used to take an argument now takes a glance. A demon glimpsed at the edge of a valley is dealt with before Sanzang has finished asking what it was. A missed meal is absorbed without complaint, because they have all missed meals before and know the shape of the next one waiting somewhere down the road. 4 men and a horse moving through weather that keeps changing, the only thing between them and the ground beneath their feet unchanging. Distance does what distance always does. It wears down what doesn't need saying and leaves only what does. By the time a mountain range gives way to open country and the land begins almost carelessly to climb, the four of them have stopped being strangers to each other in whatever way they still were. And then one morning, past the shoulder of a hill none of them has climbed before, Spirit Mountain stands in the distance, exactly where it was always going to be. Epilogue. Wordless scripture. Spirit Mountain rises the way every landmark in this story has risen, closer with every step and somehow no smaller for it. Somewhere in the party climbing toward it is a name no one has stopped to translate in 14 years, Wukong, given to him before any of this began, back when he was only a stone monkey looking for a teacher. The company climbs the last approach in silence, 4 travelers and a horse who have crossed the width of the world to reach a building. At the top, 2 of the Buddha's own senior disciples come out to meet them. Their names are Ananda and Kasyapa, and they have waited here by some accounts for longer than the pilgrims have been alive. They ask what the party has brought. Sanzang doesn't understand the question at first. He has brought 14 years of walking, a horse that used to be a dragon, and 3 companions who used to be criminals or monsters or both. He has a letter of passage stamped by every kingdom he crossed to get here. He has not brought a gift because no one told him one was required. Ananda explains it plainly, the way a clerk explains a fee that has always existed and always will. Scriptures given away for nothing leave nothing behind for the next generation of monks to live on. Their own teachers, he says, once handed down a set of texts too cheaply, and the descendants of the family who received them still suffer for it, still poor generations later. This is not corruption. This is how it has always worked here. Sanzang has nothing to give. Wukong has nothing to give. Between the 4 of them, there is no offering worth the name, and the 2 arhats, unmoved, hand over the scriptures anyway. Sha Wujing is the one who unrolls the first scroll to check it, somewhere on the road back down, and finds the page beneath the wrapping paper entirely blank. He checks another. Blank. Wukong checks his own bundle and finds the same page after page of nothing, bound and stamped and carried 1,000 miles for nothing. Sanzang's first thought is not spiritual. It's practical, and it's terror. He came from an emperor who sent him on this exact errand, and an emperor who receives blank paper in place of sacred text will not ask what any of it meant. He will ask why his monk mocked him, and mockery of a ruler carries a penalty worse than most crimes carry. Wukong's first thought is different. He wants to go back up the mountain and report both arhats directly to the Buddha himself. Kasyapa's only answer is to ask him exactly where he thinks he is, carrying on like this in a sacred place. It is not reverence that gets denied here. It is a bill. The party is already in the air. Scriptures loaded, wings beating toward home, when something reaches up and takes the scrolls out of their hands. It isn't theft. An elder Buddha named Dipamkara has watched the entire exchange from a distance the pilgrims never noticed. He sends one of his own to intercept them mid-flight and turn them back around. There is no arguing with a hand that can pluck cargo out of the sky. The party lands and climbs and stands once more in front of the Tathagata Buddha, furious in the particular way of people who have been cheated and know it. The Buddha does not apologize, and he does not explain the blank scrolls as a punishment. He says the opposite. The pages Ananda and Kasyapa handed over were true scripture, wordless, and every bit as complete as anything written in ink. It is the living beings of the party's own land, he tells them, who are too foolish and unenlightened to recognize a teaching that doesn't announce itself in words. The scrolls were never wrong. The people receiving them were not ready to understand what they'd been given. So he will have the words written back in this once, because that is the only version his fools back home will know how to read. It is, in its way, a kindness. It is also, in exactly the same breath, still a transaction. Ananda and Kasyapa ask again for a gift. This time Sanzang has something to offer, a golden alms bowl given to him personally by the Tang Emperor before he ever left home. It is the one object of real value he has carried the entire distance, and he has never once considered giving it away. He hands it over now. Only then does the written scripture change hands, scroll for scroll, the same set the party believed it already owned. No one in the hall calls this hypocrisy, and the story doesn't ask the listener to either. Both things are simply true at once. The blank pages held a wisdom words can only ever approximate, and the finished exchange still needed payment before it would close. Enlightenment apparently keeps books. This time the flight home holds for a while. Mountains fall away beneath them, then rivers, then the long stretch of country the party once crossed on foot and will now cross in a fraction of the time. Somewhere over that distance, Guanyin checks a ledger of her own. 81 calamities were required of Tang Sanzang before this journey could be considered complete. Trials set down somewhere before he ever left the capital. Her count shows only 80. One short. She has the party brought down out of the sky before they finished the crossing, back onto ground still short of home. The river beneath them is the same one they crossed years earlier on the way out, and the same white turtle who carried them then is waiting in the shallows now, exactly as if he'd known to be there. He agrees to carry them back across, the way he carried them before. Partway over open water, he surfaces a question of his own. Years ago, before this whole journey started, he asked Sanzang for one small favor in exchange for his help: find out from the Buddha himself how many more years the turtle had left to live, and bring the answer back. Sanzang, consumed entirely by the scriptures, the road, the 14 years of walking, forgot to ask. The turtle takes this in. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. He simply shakes his head once and goes under, and the water closes over 4 travelers, a horse, and every scroll of scripture they carried, all of it sinking together into the river that was supposed to be the last easy stretch of the way home. They fish the scrolls out afterward, soaked through, and lay them across the flat rocks on the bank to dry in the sun. It is Sanzang's own promise, made once and then simply not kept, that put them in the water in the first place. Not a monster. Not a trial sent down from above. A debt he owed a turtle, and forgot he owed it until the turtle stopped waiting to be paid. The 81st calamity, it turns out, was never going to come from a demon at all. They dry the pages and carry them the rest of the way themselves, on foot, the same way they carried everything else across 14 years. When they finally stand again before the Buddha, It is not to receive scripture this time. It is to receive rank. Sanzang is named Buddha of Sandalwood Merit, the long road finally converted into the only currency Spirit Mountain deals in. Sha Wujing is raised to an Arhat. Zhu Bajie, still hungry in ways no title will fix, is given a post that at least sounds impressive and complains about it anyway. The dragon horse is led to a pool behind the temple and sheds his borrowed shape and becomes one more time what he was always going to become. Then it is Wukong's turn. He is named Buddha Victorious in Strife. Not a servant's title. Not a pilgrim's title. A Buddha's title spoken in the same hall where, 500 years and one lifetime ago, another voice from this same mountain decided he needed to be stopped. It is his second name in this life, and unlike the first one, this one he has actually earned. Nobody in the hall calls him monkey. Nobody calls him disciple. For the first time since a hand descended out of the sky to close over him, the room addresses him as an equal to the one who beat him. Habit moves faster than thought. His hand goes up to the crown of his head, the way it always has, every time praise or relief or victory once made him forget himself for a moment, because relief was always the moment the band tightened, as if his own joy were the thing it was built to catch. There is nothing there to catch. He checks again with both hands, certain he's missed it, certain something this old does not simply stop existing. The skin is bare. No seam, no scar, no ring of gold pressing into bone. Sanzang, watching, doesn't reach for the spell because there is no reason to. The words that once buckled him to his knees have nowhere left to land. No one tells him it is gone. No one announces it, the way heaven once announced every punishment it ever handed him with pomp and witnesses and drums. It simply isn't there anymore. And it wasn't there for some unnoticed length of time before he even thought to check. Long enough that its absence is not an event, just a fact he is only now catching up to. He came down a mountain once, 500 years ago, already reaching for a fight he assumed the world still owed him. He doesn't reach for one now. There's nothing left to win. The war he fought that could not be lost and the war he fought that could not be won have both, somewhere on the road behind him, simply ended, not with a hand descending to stop him, but with nothing descending at all. He was given the name Wukong before any of this began. It means awakened to emptiness. It took him a lifetime to grow into it,